welcome to another Talk with Lemon. This is available on YouTube.
It's better when you fuck it up.
This is available to the billions around the world on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and so many more.
TikTok?
TikTok also. I'm a software engineer, been doing it for about 2 decades, and today my sidekick is...
Emmett Morgan, Las Vegas realtor. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am here to talk to you over the internet. I know a little bit about cryptocurrency, but not a lot. So I'm happy to hang out with Liem. And today, Taylor, what's Taylor's official name?
Taylor Mitchell.
Taylor Mitchell is how you'd find her, yes. Taylor Mitchell, what's your story? What's your gig?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Super excited. So I am a content creator. TikTok is my main platform. So you guys can find me on taylormitchell.official. And I make all kinds of personal finance. I've kind of tagged myself as modern finance. So a lot of, stock market and cryptocurrency. And super excited to see what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome. So we spent 3 hours talking about cryptocurrency, finance, being a woman in the field of finance. We talked about your culinary career and
Discord.
And Discord, for me, that was super, super awesome for me. I don't know if anybody else would care about talking about Discord.
Well, I only knew Discord as like chatting over video games. I didn't know that there was another side or other things you can do on Discord. But is it basically just a way to talk to people live, or is it more complicated than that?
That's the basis of it, but then you could do into paid memberships and tiered access, and you could make it more.
Yeah, robust. It's really a blank slate. Like you can really customize it as much as you can imagine to customize it. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, let's get into the talk.
All right, audience, stay tuned.
Super excited because he loves talking about crypto, and you're like a crypto first kind of talker. So this is
right on. Yeah, I could talk about crypto all day.
Oh, me too. I'm a software engineer. I've been doing that for like 20 years. So I look at crypto a little bit more sci-fi-ish, I think, than most people. But I think I also take the knowledge of a programmer looking at the code. So there's a thing about decentralized consensus of truth, or truth by consensus, that I think brings a paradigm shift that this world has never had the ability to do so before. So this crypto stuff is going to bring a paradigm. But is there happen to be a question that you want to start with, Emmett?
Yeah, I'm loaded.
All right, let's go.
Do you guys know anything about internet computer coin or internet computer? Because I see articles and I hear about this and I don't understand what it is or what the point is.
Yeah, so I hadn't looked into it. I was getting so many comments about it. I was going live on TikTok. People were asking me all about it. And I finally looked on it, and, shortly after launch, it just like zoomed up, and it's just been a free fall since then. I think it's down like some 90+% since its launch. And so truthfully, I haven't seen what the project actually is, but I had a bunch of people had actually bought into it. And then they're like, what's going on? So I look, and it's just like a free fall. I'm like, sorry, wish I could offer more. Unfortunately, with crypto, so many people obviously can open up these projects, and not to say that internet computer is or isn't legitimate, because like I said, my actual scope of the project is rather small, but unfortunately that's just part of the game.
Yeah, because I'm curious what it's supposed to do. Like, I mean, is there some grand objective behind it? Is it supposed to do something? Is it cloud computing or something, or what's
So I'll the way I understand it is, but I don't know I tried to look it up right before this, but I ran out of time. The internet computer coin, if that is one. So what's their, do you know their ticker? Is it
ICP?
ICP. Okay, so
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to take it a step back to what I think some people were calling cryptocurrency and decentralization itself as the internet computer. So because since we have the miners around the world, plus if we have smart contracts. So think of a computer as a CPU just doing Boolean logic. So that's what kind of with the smart contracts, those could be the Boolean logic. So people are calling that the internet computer. So it's not really, in my opinion, now before this internet computer coin came out, I think that's what they're calling the cryptocurrency decentralization. The internet computer was all that.
Yeah.
But now to have a coin that's dedicated to it, I don't know. I wish I had enough time to look it up, but I'm assuming it's probably the same thing, because unless they're doing anything revolutionary, it's still just going to be a protocol with smart contracts on a blockchain.
Okay, so I'm not missing something grander.
No. So one thing that did it grab my attention with it, they have reverse gas fees. So instead of having to hold something from that, holding that native blockchain, it'll just take it out the top of your transaction. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to transfer, something on ERC20 and not had Ethereum in that wallet. So then you can't do the transaction. So then you have to transfer in Ethereum, wait for however long that takes, pay the gas fees just to transfer your Ethereum on. So that is one thing that caught my attention. I was like, okay, definitely would like to see that on some other blockchains, but yeah.
Okay.
I think that's an interesting thing, the reverse. So you're saying, how would the reverse fee, does that come out of the mining or the staking computer?
Truthfully, that's over my head. So
okay.
I wouldn't know in that regard, but yeah. So for example, if you're sending USDT on ERC20, you're still going to need Ethereum in that wallet just to send the USDT. Whereas if you're sending ICP, and again, I don't know what other projects are being built on that blockchain, but it's just going to be taken off the top of your transaction instead of having to have that second coin in the wallet, which I think in terms of actually making transactions makes a lot more sense. And again, from a developer standpoint, maybe not, maybe that's more complex than I realized, but to me, it's where has this been? Because seems just so convenient to have it just taken right off the top.
Yeah. I wonder if they're taking it out of somehow the mining fee. Maybe the miner doesn't get as much. That's just my speculation from hearing it.
I mean, would it make more sense to call it a native gas fee instead of a reverse? Because it's the same thing. Right? It's not going the other direction.
Yeah, no, that sounds. I would vote for that word.
Right.
Also, if you're a fan of the Insane Clown Posse or a Juggalo, and this is the coin for you. we are not financial advisors in any way. We don't have any financial advice for you. But if you like the Insane Clown Posse, this happens to have the same acronym.
Yeah. What new coins are you into, Taylor?
So I've been looking mostly, Solana and Matic are two big projects that's kind of been definitely come up into probably my top 5 or so in the last couple months. And then something I need to look more into though, if you've heard of Secret, I think Secret blockchain, I think it is. So it's a privacy blockchain. So instead of right now, there's so much, it's all anonymous, but it's very open in terms of the transactions on the blockchain and stuff. But the idea behind Secret is the potential to have different, private documents sent on the blockchain. So the potential to include healthcare or law documents, or, just all these different things that actually need privacy, but then also need really nice, and quick, clean transactions and movement. So, in terms of seeing because from an investor standpoint, a lot of people invest in cryptocurrency because you can make money, but it's funny because you're investing in these things, but they're doing has little to nothing to do with transactions on some of the, for instance, Ethereum, Ethereum's main goal isn't necessarily transactions. It's smart contracts and being kind of the foundational platform for other things to build on top of it. And so, the ability to have something that is going to integrate privacy to the blockchain, I actually think is something pretty cool. Certainly not something that we see. A lot of places, or a lot of things actually are advertising the opposite. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah, privacy is one of I categorize my crypto investments into just categories. So you got the platform coins like Ethereum, Solana, privacy coins, Monero. Secret might sound like maybe one of it. I haven't looked at it.
Yeah.
Monero's, if it's similar to Monero, basically it hides all transactions. Even if you have the public key, you can't see the ledger for that public key.
For sure.
for that wallet. So you actually have to provide the private key to that specific wallet. So it'd be only the wallet holder that could see their history, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And then the other pillars I look into that I categorize as like a centralized coin, like EOS, Ripple. I think Stellar is another one. When you do your looking at crypto and investing, do you kind of break things down into certain categories like that?
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely look at like your kind of layer ones, obviously like Ethereum and Solana, and layer two being Matic. So, you know, those kind of things that help establish. So it's funny because I actually work the same way when I'm investing in the stock market, which is like, of course, you're looking at the big guys, right? Like you're looking at Tesla, Apple, Google, but you also want to look at what helps make those companies work. And like, so you're also looking at like the smaller projects that actually help from the day-to-day function. So, you know, obviously crypto works a little bit different in that, but yeah, certainly looking at, like I said, like the layer one and layer twos for sure. And then a couple of like the native tokens. So like BNB, obviously. And yeah, just looking at those things.
Yeah, I think actually layer one, layer two is a good way. I usually call layer two niche coins, which that's a bad category name. I'm going to start using layer two probably. I call it niche, like usually because like say Matic, if I remember, I forget what Matic does. What's Matic's main thing?
Yeah, so it actually works to make Ethereum like more efficient.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like
so it just works on
transactions?
top of Ethereum. Yeah. So it's like its own little segue off of Ethereum, but it works to help like clear up the network of Ethereum.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, probably about 6 to 8 months ago, where Ethereum's gas fees was super high, so Matic came out at the right time to be a layer two way to help facilitate faster, cheaper transactions, I believe. But with Ethereum's London EIP 1559 and August 4th, I believe. That whole Matic thing may not be as necessary. Well,
it's hard to say.
Yeah. So things like Matic and what's another one? Matic. Anyways, there's other ones like built on layer two. I usually call them niche coins or niche coins, but I'll start calling it layer two.
Yeah, but layer two means it is specifically built to ride on and do something with, in this case, Ethereum, right? Are there layer two?
Sorry. Yeah. So like just to enhance the blockchain that it's associated with. So,
are there layer two Bitcoin coins? What would be in the layer two?
Yeah. Lightning Network is kind of a layer.
Yeah.
So I would say to rephrase your definition, layer two is just something built on that cryptocurrency, but
is it like you're running the transactions on the side before writing them?
It could be anything. Say if I had an idea, I wanted to build I think USDC might be I might be wrong. There's certain peg coins to the US dollar that they do on Ethereum. And that would be a layer two. So they built some code that says, look at this server over here for the US dollar, how many US dollars are in print or whatever, the value of the US dollar. And then they peg Ethereum to that. So that would be a layer two option.
So I actually heard this analogy from Michael Saylor, which separates the entire crypto space into 4 quadrants. So there's digital property, which would be something like Bitcoin, where people buy it with the intent to just hold it for decades, you know? So specifically in the analogy, he was saying that if your family bought a plot of land in London 300 years ago, you wouldn't be looking to sell that land today. You would just be holding on to it and generating yield off of it. And so up next was digital platforms, which would be the buildings inside of that plot of land. And so that would be like Ethereum, again, which is the platform where things are built on top of. Another good analogy for something like Ethereum I've heard is the internet. So, you know, you just have the base platform where other projects are coming. So we have the internet, but then you also have Facebook, Google, Instagram, like those things that are built on the internet. Piece 3 was the decentralized apps, which are the companies actually inside the buildings. And so that's why we also say, like, so something like that would be Uniswap. So, you know, just a project that's trying to like work inside of the platform. And then the last one was digital currencies, which would be obviously like our stable coins like DAI, Tether. And so, that's actually the currency that is used for transactions. So I thought that was super important because, all the time I get questions about, well, not only that, and like this whole last couple months was all shit coins, where everyone was just trying to have like the funniest name or the coolest picture or the next dog breed or something like that, So I know from like a new investor standpoint, you're looking at the entire crypto space and you're like, how do these projects possibly relate to each other? And so I thought that was really cool. The four kind of quadrants to get kind of like a better idea of how things are working together.
I think you said the original quadrant was digital property or digital land. Is it?
Yeah, digital property.
So I think you said Ethereum when I think you meant Bitcoin. Was that the original? Was that supposed to be the first quadrant on this list?
Yes.
Okay. Bitcoin.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, it's all good. I want to make sure I understand the analogy. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think when I think about cryptocurrency, that second quadrant with a decentralized platform is super important because people, I think people don't think about, when you hear the term cryptocurrency, you just think of currency. Everyone thinks of money and they just think about buy like a stock and sell to make profit, which we all want to make money. I want to make money. But I think the biggest part of that,
I love money.
That I feel like that quadrant number 2 is so massive that if I did a pie chart on that one, it would probably take up 90% or 95% because if that enables dApps, that's going to be massive. That's going to run. That's like buying a piece of the internet, not buying Google. That's buying a piece of the internet back in 1980 or whatever time frame that if you could get some type of hold on the backbone of the internet.
93.
Yeah. So I think many people don't think of cryptocurrency as a protocol. That's the huge, massive thing. It is a protocol. It's not just one coin that might, like Matic. If Matic does something, or Tether is a niche thing, it's just going to do that. But if you buy something that's a platform, then it enables so many other things, and hopefully you get to benefit on all the other things. So I think Ethereum is, going to be the biggest one. So that's where I have 90% of my portfolio is in Ethereum. Now, that does feel like putting all my eggs in one basket, but I don't see anything getting close to Ethereum. And me as a developer, I think that's where it's at. When you break down your investment portfolio, do you kind of, or how do you break down in those 4 pillars and or categorize like that?
So ironically, actually, between my entire crypto portfolio, I keep about 80% of it long term. And then I did leave myself, kind of 20% these last 6 months or so to kind of play around with more short term swing trades on these like shit coins and different gambles to play with and stuff, right? And so I know, so ridiculous. And so, but Ethereum actually, maybe not ironically, is also my biggest holding. And it's funny too, because, Cardano is another one that's like called the Ethereum killer. And some people just swear by it that it's going to like swamp Ethereum. It's like, okay, well, where are those smart contracts? Like you're not comparing apples to apples. Like you're telling me that this is going to up and come and beat it. And it's like, okay, well, first of all, Ethereum has a couple years on you in terms of, smart contracts and just like actually having a full established ecosystem. And the thing with these layer ones is they're only as good as the projects that are actually being built on top of them. And, there's really nothing being built on Cardano right now. Obviously they have Sunday Swap, which is going to be their decentralized exchange platform. But, as far as, like Ethereum is great in and of itself, but what makes it even better is the projects that are being built on top of it. And like you said, to kind of buy that one basket and then have exposure to the benefit that it brings to all these other projects. Yeah,
that's exactly how I see it. Cardano, you said, doesn't have their smart contracts out yet. As far as I last remembered, I heard they had some date that was soon to start doing smart contracts, but I don't know the date, so I won't speak about that. But you're talking about, so you're saying the buildup of the ecosystem that took years for Ethereum. We have developers that's been running on Ethereum and on Ethereum. what I've heard, I don't know if this is true. I read an article where they said 90% of the developers working on dApps and layer 2 stuff, they're in Ethereum, 90%. Now, I think that number probably seems way high. That seems outrageous, but I wouldn't doubt if it was even 60% or something like that.
For sure. Yeah.
I've tried to look into GitHub and try to do a count on developers on Bitcoin, on Solana, on Ethereum, Cardano, and Ethereum does have a lot more developers. So that's one thing when buying into Ethereum. I think that you're buying into that ecosystem that's been building, and it's a King Kong of a type of ecosystem now because it's so massive.
Yeah.
I remember a couple. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
Well, it's so interesting with cryptocurrency because people will ask me like, you know, where do you see this in 5 years? Where do you see this in 10 years? And it's like this is not like an established stock company, you know, that's been around since the 70s and now they just went public. Like these are, and all of them, even Bitcoin being the oldest one, are still so young. And so, and like you said, they can adapt and they can change all the time. So, you know, for some people, you know, they'll be like, is this a long-term hold? It's like, I mean, in this current state and what they're saying is going to happen, it could make a great long-term hold. But, you know, that's the interesting thing with the entire community being so young and really immature. It's just lacking, you know, those legs to know.
Yeah, I remember there was a time when we were excited about other platform coins like EOS and Eternity. And we, you know, at that time, this was a couple of years ago, we looked into it and studied it and what's all the information we can find. And does it seem legit? Yeah. But we checked out these coins and go, hey, you know what this looks like? Looks like they're building a legit platform that could be something equal to or similar to Ethereum or be a challenger to Ethereum. So we bought into those and watched them. And then over the years, nothing really developed, right? Is that an accurate way to describe that? That those platforms didn't really go anywhere?
Because we did, there was XRP that we jumped into early. That was probably, is that the only one that one
Still
out
around?
of 1 out of 20? So we took, there was probably about 20 other shit coins that we went into, but we tried to look at it from I would like to think an educated standpoint. I actually go in and look at the white paper. I'm not smart enough to understand an entire white paper on some of them. If I can't understand the entire white paper, there's something wrong with that project. So
the math ain't complicated enough.
Yeah. They need to have some mathematical things that gets me lost. And I'm like, oh, wow, this seems like they've put in some efforts and some thought to it.
Right.
that isn't exactly 100%. I can't trust that 100%. That meaning if I go through a paper and get lost, that doesn't mean it's a great paper, but at least if I've gone through it and understood it all, that's a red flag that I understood it. And like, hey, they didn't put much thought to this.
Do you also have like a bullshit detector? Like, hey, this sounds like they're just marketing.
If I go through that whole thing and I understand it all, and then I see a bunch of marketing things, I'm like, well, that's a massive red flag. They're just looking to build this up, market it, and then pull the rug eventually. That's the way I would think that they're trying to do it with that type of white paper. So 5 years ago, we went in and did all that. And we picked some coins, and then the majority of it didn't work out. One thing I would say on that though, even though 19 out of 20 didn't work out, only 5 out of that 20 did we lose money.
Yeah.
So even though we didn't make a whole lot, it would have been better if we kept it all into Ethereum.
Sure.
But those 15, we still made a profit.
Yeah, that's easy to say looking back. I mean, right. But at that time, you're saying, hey, I want to diversify and not have all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And another thing with the white paper too is, you know, some of those white papers, they are just like this PowerPoint presentation. Like you said, that they put so much like marketing money into it. Whereas if you look at Bitcoin white paper, it just looks like an abstract, like scientific essay. You know, there's absolutely, it just lets it speak for itself. There's no all this like fluff. And so that's the big one too. If I pull up a white paper and it's nothing but like glitter, I'm like, okay, this is like definitely a red flag here.
This one has good pictures.
Yeah.
Do you have any crypto investments or stock investments that you regret?
Ooh, that I regret. Well, one thing I will say, yeah. So I invested in SafeMoon, and it actually
SafeMoon.
did, yeah, it actually did very well for me. But I made videos about it on TikTok just because I was, it was very early. It was doing well, and I got so much hate for these videos. It's come out to be the most hated, it seems, coin from OG crypto people, which is cool. I get it. But that would certainly be one thing, at least, maybe from a video standpoint instead of an actual investment standpoint. But yeah, the project actually like 40x after I made the video on it, and so there certainly are a bunch of people like, wow, this made me so much money. It's like sweet, but still to this day, and that was in like February, I think. But yeah,
I think
still
that
to
takes
this day.
I think that takes a big person to admit something in that situation. So, meaning, do you regret it because you made the video where you thought SafeMoon would go somewhere, or you're making the video just to tell people, make a quick buck and get out, or what do you regret out?
Yeah, well, what I regret, I guess, would just be actually as silly as, like I said, as silly as it sounds, because after I called it out, it 40x, and so anyone who followed it made a bunch of money on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in hindsight, like I said, it ended up being like the most hated project, which I made a video about it like a week and a half after it launched. So I had no idea of that, but I was checking the Twitter. There's already like 100,000 followers on the Twitter account, which was really unusual for obviously such a new project. So yeah, I would say next time I'd probably just keep that a little bit more private to my Discord or something. But because then it turns into this big thing like, oh, you supported SafeMoon, you don't know anything about crypto. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but like we're here to make money, and it did make money. It did make money. So yeah. Just a weird circumstance, but hindsight 2020.
My regret would probably be EOS. Not that my thoughts on EOS the thoughts I had then are mostly still intact now. It's just the way EOS turned out. So I saw EOS as I think of cryptocurrency is a very complicated thing for many people to pick up. And I thought EOS might be that baby step where it was a centralized governed coin. And I thought maybe people would take that baby step onto EOS first, then maybe Ethereum later. So I thought EOS would be
a good bet.
It ended up not being a great bet. And I think when I look at how much Ethereum increased from then, like I would have been way better off with Ethereum. I didn't lose with EOS, but it would have been way better with Ethereum. So that's a regret I do have. I do regret because I tell like probably hundreds, I don't know, thousands of people about my investments years ago or back then. And if they followed me, I only feel bad if they somehow lost, even though I tell everyone, hey, this is my educated guess how I think things could play out. This is your risks. I'm giving you all the information. And to some degree, I give way more information than most people. I think some people like to just shill their coin or whatnot, but I give them everything. I say, I think EOS could do this, but this is where it could also fail. So these are both sides of the story. And I just feel bad if they did lose some money. I just feel bad about it.
Of course. Yeah. That's such a tricky slope because, people, especially if they know that you're into crypto or the stock market, people always have an open ear to like, know, like, what are you investing in? Like anything I should throw in on. And, but that same person often has a lot less tolerance for losing any sort of money. And so it's always like such a pain point. That's like, I've had people, I lost $10 and they're stressing about it. And obviously everyone has different financials, but you're like, $10, like that's a meal at McDonald's or something, And so like, but yeah, it is hard to stomach, So it's always, you always got to give that warning, like, hey, just so, I believe in this, based on what I can tell, but, don't hate me at the end of the day if you lose a little change. But
I do hate dropping my meal. There's been a couple times in my life where I've dropped food. I'm like, God damn it, I was right about to eat that and it's on the floor now. That's a different way to lose $10.
Definitely.
So obviously you have an interest in crypto and stock markets and finances. do you kind of see yourself more like a long-term investor or a day trader or some hybrid, or how do you view your own position
Yeah.
there?
So it's funny because when I actually got started, I was very much like into the day trade. Like I was like kind of sold that narrative of, and I was really into it. And I'm actually a very competitive person. And so, the day trading kind of worked to feed that like competitive aspect in myself.
Yeah.
But over the last couple of years, I have definitely taken a more long-term approach, which I think is, so much healthier on so many standpoints. I can't even tell you how, especially with crypto, like crypto never sleeps.
Yeah.
And so, the number of nights that you can just stay up literally all night. And so being able to like have that detachment and go more long term has saved me so much.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for a few years then. Although your
Yeah.
your TikTok is pretty recent, right? Is it this year?
Yeah. So I actually didn't start making the TikTok until January of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. It seems like you grew super fast, would you say, or is that on par?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it is. I mean, TikTok is one of the easier platforms to grow on based the way that their algorithm works. So, for example, if you post on Instagram, you have like a 24-hour window to have your content seen, whereas TikTok automatically redistributes your content like once a week. So occasionally I'll have a video that I posted weeks ago go viral. Like all out of nowhere, I'll just start getting notifications for this. And the way that TikTok works with like the For You page, it's made to find other people's content, versus like Instagram is your friends, with the exception of one page in the whole app, you can find other people. So it is a little bit easier to grow on TikTok in comparison. But right now, I think I was averaging between like 50 and 80,000 followers a month,
Wow,
which is pretty wild. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I started making a lot of like day trading content because that is a lot of the content that does well, is the kind of the quick money stuff. But I've gotten away from that over the last couple of months just because as an investor myself, kind of in terms of sharing trades with people. So, even just talking about these trades, the more I talked about it, the more myself as an investor grew to want to do more long-term trades, because it got to the point, I'd be like looking at, let's say like Tesla or Palantir or something, and I'd be looking at the trade and I'm like, yeah, I day traded that like, a month ago, got like 15%, but had I held it, I would have been up like 35% or something,
Right.
So I started falling into a lot more of those positions where, more times than not for XYZ reason, being either a swing trader or actually having more long-term mindset actually is more beneficial on like every level than being a day trader.
Are you also looking into like real estate or any other appreciating asset?
Yeah. So actually right as COVID hit, I was looking for real estate in Phoenix, which is where we were living at the time. And I actually put an offer in on a house. And so the house was on the market for like 36 hours. I was the second offer in. They had 8 offers within like 48 hours of listing.
Yeah.
And I was beat by an all cash buyer coming from California. So, but then, like I said, COVID hit right after that. And so it kind of worked in my favor just to like wait it out and see. And so now we've moved out to California, and I would love to buy, like that's definitely high on my list as my next investment is real estate. But the real estate out here in California is just like bananas. And so, we'll see where that takes me. But
well, now you can be the out-of-state California buyer when you go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Do you see yourself getting so like your TikTok platform seems to be mostly crypto right now? Are you planning on jumping in like stocks into that more? If I remember, your earlier stuff on TikTok was a little bit more stocks, and then it turned more into crypto.
For sure, yeah. So I'm trying actually. I just last week or a week and a half ago, I signed with a manager actually, and so they're gonna help me create kind of this whole brand deal around myself and like create my brand. But my interest with like personal finance isn't just in crypto, but I definitely did fall pretty hard into that category with TikTok because it's the content that was doing well.
Yeah.
And I'm like the content kind of makes itself, in that you'll make one video, then people ask questions, and then you know what to make the next video on. And so that it just kind of snowballed into this whole thing, which I mean, I love making the content, and, you know, I could do it all day. But, you know, from a brand standpoint and to grow across multiple platforms, I really want to take a more like a broader approach. So I actually, you know, this morning was making some content in regards to drop shipping, because last year I ran an Etsy shop and had like some drop shipping stuff. And, you know, so definitely trying to like hit all categories of finance. But we'll see where it goes. But yeah, having signed with this manager, I think will be really lucrative, because I don't have to spend so much time just going over my email. Because as I'm sure you guys know, I can spend all day looking at my email, even if I've seen all of them before, just like keeping up with my schedule and stuff like that. So being able to delegate the admin to somebody else and have them be able to, you know, negotiate contracts and things like that will be very, very beneficial for me.
Nice. That'd be really interesting if you could keep me in the loop on that of some sorts, meaning as I kind of go through my journey of YouTube and whatnot. That'd be interesting to hear how that what would you call that, like a entertainment,
like an agency?
An agency, okay, and marketing agency.
So what made you choose them? Did they have some credibility with other clients, or what?
Yeah.
What made you...
So I'm not sure if I can say whom else they've signed with.
Sure,
but that creator and I had been discussing about collaborating on something else, and actually we missed a meeting, and I missed the meeting. Our time zones were different in our email, and I overlooked the meeting. And so my response email was, because I was actually corresponding with her manager, who is now my manager, but I was corresponding with her, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Now I see why you hired a manager to help keep you on track. Yeah. And so then she's like, actually, if you want to schedule a meeting with me. And so we did. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, this agency has experience with these other brands. So, for example, if QuickBooks reaches out to me for a video, I mean, I can assume that they have a pretty nice size budget because it's QuickBooks, but I don't really know. But if this agency has already signed another creator and it was an $8,000 video or something, then they might offer me $1,000. But if this agency knows that they've offered somebody else, you know, so they have like kind of a broader, and then they're better at negotiating, you know, whether it's like usage or exclusivity, because those are both actually things that make the content much more expensive. Like if I can't post a competitor's product for 30 days, right? You know, obviously that's going to be something that adds on a lot. Or usage, like if they want to take the video as their own and submit it on their social media platforms. That's another piece that, as myself being new to this space, you know, I can understand that might cost more for content, but, you know, in terms of negotiating that's like right over my head. So it's going to be super, super beneficial.
Yeah, but also you can focus on making your actual content instead of stressing about percentages or whatever. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
An online question, but I think you kind of already answered it. Just in case you want to add anything to it, this person asks, TikTok seems too short. Why not go with a longer YouTube format?
So I think TikTok is the perfect place. Exactly right. There you go. I think TikTok is the perfect place to grow onto those other platforms, but you know, realistically, people have very short attention spans unless it's a subject that they are seeking out themselves. And so just flipping through the For You page, if you can get like a 30-second video about, you know, a trade you made or whatever it happens to be to grab someone's attention, that's when you can send them to your Instagram page or your YouTube platform to actually, you know, suddenly they are watching your 15-minute YouTube videos that they wouldn't have just picked up randomly before.
This next question, why or why not should a social media influencer have an ethical responsibility with their content? For example, anti-vaxxers, politics, products, ads. But I guess they're saying, so as for crypto and investment, I'm guessing where does your influencing?
Do you influence people?
Well, or do you think about the ethics behind it?
The ethnicity Definitely. Of your followers.
So that was actually something that was made very clear to me very early when I started my platform, is how much people are listening like word for word and just following whatever you say. And so I've learned to be very, very careful in what I'm saying, because, to the same concept we were saying earlier, is that, I can know that if I'm sharing, say it was Matic, which obviously has done pretty well, but let's say, I was sharing about Matic and it tanked. Like, I was okay with that because I knew the investment risk. But, there's so many people who just follow these trades almost blindly, which unfortunately is what's come with a lot of the banning on TikTok lately, if you guys are familiar with that, is because, so many people are getting burned. And that's the unfortunate truth when you're working in like the finance realm, is, that you do have to be very, very careful with what you're saying, because, while you might say it with the best intentions, you only have a minute to get that message across. And so in my head, if I've rehearsed it 100 times and I think I said like not financial advice or only risk what you're willing to lose, like if I didn't actually say that, it can certainly come back to bite you in one way or another.
Interesting. A fun question this person has, I think, is if you created your own cryptocurrency, what would its name be and what would be the purpose?
Oh,
that's a good one. So actually I have the brand that I use my Discord with, which was actually used to be the name of my channel, was Growth Mindcheck. And so I'd probably just do like a Growth Mindcheck coin, and its purpose would be, maybe like purchasing educational content, like in regards to cryptocurrency. So whether it was like a course or, some sort of like one-stop spot for, for all this crypto content and research.
I like your instinct there. Yeah. There's a hunger for people who want to learn about crypto.
For sure. And it's really hard to navigate, even like YouTube, I think, is an amazing resource. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, the more times you get burned, the more your guard's going to be up, and the more you're like, hey, does this person like really know what they're talking about? Or, to what extent do they really know? Because at the end of the day, it's just a person sharing an opinion based on fact, but there's still so much opinion based in that. So, I think being able to get like just an unbiased, broad spectrum education of the entire crypto market, I think would be huge.
I was actually going to ask what sources you currently look at. What influences you, and what do you trust? What when you want to learn about a new coin, where do you go? How do you find out? Because none of us invented any of the things we were talking about. So we're obviously reading about them or seeing videos or consuming something else that informs us. So what?
Definitely. So the first thing, I guess it works fortunate to me. A lot of coins are brought to my attention, whether they're people comment me on them or tag me in it or whatever it happens to be. And then I always just go to the main website. I look at their partnerships, to see like if they're obviously have any partnerships with Chainlink or, whatever it happens to be, any names that catch my attention. And then I also look at the white paper and see kind of where that falls into the spectrum of how much money they're spending just on purely marketing or, different things like that. Yeah.
So you try to research a coin directly?
I feel like I've been in the space long enough that with obvious exception, I can kind of get an idea if I feel that there's a piece for that or if there's like a direct competitor to that. And then, if there is a direct competitor, then I'll see what they're doing that, is maybe doing better, or if is a space for that. And then if it's something like secret blockchain, as I was saying, that Monero you brought up sounds like it could be a competitor. But, something like that where I evaluate if I feel that there's a need for it. And don't get me wrong, I certainly miss opportunities because I think it's not. And then it turns out everyone else and their mother does, Actually, Matic is one of the projects that I first looked at it and it was like under a penny, I think. And now it's like just under $1, I think. I jumped in at like 45 cents. So I was late to that one. I'm still happy with it, but one of those for sure. Yeah.
So you're saying there's a big difference between whether a coin or a cryptocurrency has some legitimate purpose versus its popularity, right? Can a coin just be popular for whatever reason and you make money on it and you pull out? Is that a legitimate way to look at some coins, or?
I would say if you are, so that's actually how I've allocated my portfolio. Is I was saying like 80% long term and then 20% more of these like speculative plays.
Yeah.
So I think Dogecoin is a perfect example of that. I don't think I ever held Doge for more than like a 20-cent swing, because I just never felt, I just never had any connection to that one.
You don't trust the Doge.
Yeah, don't trust it. But yeah, I think, and that's another kind of weird thing about crypto, is if it does have just the right amount of hype behind it, nobody else has to be picking it up in terms of partnerships and stuff. That, if it has the momentum behind it, you can certainly make some money off of it.
When did you first start investing?
So I started investing in the stock market first. My first purchase actually was Tesla. I was like just about to leave for college, downloaded Robinhood, threw some like extra beer money into Tesla, and then I ended up deleting the app. Like, I think I got a new phone or something, totally deleted the app, forgot about it altogether. And then, 4 or 5 years later, I came back to download Robinhood again, typed in my email, and said, you already had an account. I was like, I don't think so. And so, but then I was able to get into the account, and I had never sold this Tesla that was then up like 700%.
Wow.
Yeah. And in hindsight, it's funny too, because had I had access to that app, I probably wouldn't have held it up for 700% as being my first trade.
Yeah.
So I actually just sold it like a couple months ago. So that was kind of like a nostalgic thing to let it go. But yeah, so that was kind of the first thing that kind of like got a fire under me. Like, wow, there's actually, something here. So yeah.
Did you study finance at all in college, or something else entirely?
I did not. Yeah. No, yeah, I'm self-taught. So I graduated high school to go to nursing school, and then I did that for a year, and it just wasn't right for me. And so I actually dropped out and went to culinary school. So I did the whole culinary school. I was a chef, sous chef and executive chef, did front of house management at hotels, and then, just started trading full time, and then made the crypto content, the TikTok platform, and then just kind of history from there. But
and here we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Your chefing career, or culinary career, is a bit interesting. So how did, kind of a summary of that? Like, where did you start? Where did you end?
My first job was actually as a hostess in a restaurant. And I, just on the side part-time jobs, I was always in and out of restaurants through high school, and then started college. And I actually always really liked it. I know a lot of people just, it's like a crap job, or, it is just a job. It's not a career for most people. But I just always really enjoyed it, and so as I said, I left for nursing school, and then I always found myself cooking when I was stressed, and just, I just liked the family environment of if you get in the right restaurant, and, things like that. And so, yeah, so then I went to culinary school, worked through different kitchens in Portland, Oregon through culinary school. And then I took an internship down in Phoenix, actually. And, was working in the kitchen, and the owners of that restaurant happened to be in the kitchen one of the days. And, they just were watching me work, and they liked my work. And so they had me do a stage for them, which is like a working interview.
Yeah.
And, cooked some food for them, and, they brought me on to be their executive chef of their new concept. So it kind of fell in my lap, right place, right time. But it was a really cool experience. But, the problem, like I said, with restaurant is it was a career for me, but it's a job for a lot of people. And so there's so much turnover. There's a lot of like toxic personalities that get stuck in restaurants and stuff. And so, kind of a bittersweet. Like I said, I loved it. And certainly there's the right restaurants around who wouldn't be such like a toxic environment, but it's a lot of drugs and alcohol for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's where the story's supposed to go, like awesome, like off the rails.
So I dropped my cocaine in the soup. I don't know if I should do a new batch or start over.
When you say that it fell in your lap, so literally just the bosses or the owners were just there that day, like you said, you just really got lucky, because I think you mentioned in the questionnaire that you sent, like usually those positions take like 10 years to get through, and then you you got there super quick?
Yeah, so I was, yeah, like I said, I was working. They were actually working in the back of the kitchen too, like prepping, trying some recipes for a new concept. And when I was originally brought on, I was brought in as a sous chef, which is still a little bit unusual, but certainly not as unusual as an executive chef. And so I was working as a sous chef with the executive chef before the concept had opened. And unfortunately, that chef was an alcoholic. And, you know, like a week and a half before opening, he just kind of disappeared.
So there's quite a bit of luck on so many factors on this.
There's so many factors. Yeah. And so, you know, but then we had designed the whole restaurant together, you know, the layout, all of it, picked the menu, designed the menu. And, you know, a week and a half before opening, I was the only person that still knew the whole menu that was on staff. And so, yeah, and so I was given the role of executive chef. It was a challenge in so many ways, especially having just graduated from culinary school. And it was a high-end French seafood concept. And so we hired only people that had were very, very experienced in the kitchen. So I was the least experienced in the kitchen by far, which obviously had its own challenges. But I think what was most important to the owners is that I knew what they had been looking for since day one. And so as long as I could, you know, get a team together who could cook their menu, that's really what they were looking for. So
what do you think what personality traits of yourself made that all more possible, if that makes sense?
Yeah,
Cussing in French.
Yeah, I'm definitely an all or nothing person. And so once it was presented in front of me, I just dove in, you know, 7 days a week. I was there from 4 a.m. to get the fish off the truck, there until 11 at night. You know, some days I would more or less sleep there, you know, just because, like I said, you break down the kitchen.
Yeah.
By the time it's 11, I have to leave my place at 3. So I think just my determination and ability to just dive all in, which is also probably why I hit the burnout so quickly. But yeah, I would say for sure, just being able to just dive into it.
When you watch reality cook shows, which one do you think is the best, the worst, and why?
So I like Chopped. I think, you know, I've yet to find out how much of that is actually scripted, like how much they actually know is in the basket beforehand. Yeah. But, you know, that's actually something that you do pretty often in the restaurant, especially with seafood, because seafood has a very short shelf life.
Yeah.
So, you know, the next day, if you've had seafood for a day and a half, you're like, okay, what soup are we making with this, you know, to get rid of this fish? And so different stuff like that. So in terms of actually having real restaurant skill applied to cooking, I think Chopped is really cool in that way. And then what's the other one? A Sabotage Kitchen or something like that. I think it's cool because suddenly they're cooking and they're like, you have no utensils, and so they have to start cooking with nothing but their hands or something. So that's super goofy, but it's entertaining. Yeah.
By any chance, any thoughts on MasterChef, Top Chef, or Hell's Kitchen?
Ramsay. So yeah, I like all of those. I think he's gotten a little softer. Gordon Ramsay, I think he's gotten a little softer over the years. You know, there used to be all those clips of him just ripping people to shreds for, you know, whatever reason. But actually, I actually think Gordon Ramsay is opening a restaurant out here in San Diego soon. But yeah, I think those are cool, certainly cool competition chefs. I actually interviewed to be on Chopped, and they wanted me to do this whole, you know, kind of a Zoom call thing where they wanted you to just kind of trash talk and talk about how you're just gonna destroy everyone. And I'm just not a trash talker, so they just weren't getting that in from me. I was like, I think I could do pretty well, and they're like harder, let's try that again, and they just couldn't get it from me. So
nobody can handle carrots like me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your favorite dish or dessert to cook and or bake?
So actually my cooking has changed so much over the last couple of years. I actually 5 years ago I went vegan. And so, you know, everything that I learned in terms of culinary school, you know, only 10 or 20% of that still applied after having gone vegan. Obviously most of the techniques still applied. But I love cooking Italian food, more southern Italy, where it focuses on simple ingredients, high quality, fresh tomatoes, high quality olive oil, big flake salt, stuff like that. Just kind of like the fresh ingredients.
Jump into the when you said you're waking up at 4 a.m. for the kitchen. So what work ethic? Where does that come from? Your work ethic.
What's wrong with you?
Right. Honestly, probably sports. I mean, being from kindergarten, I played select soccer, like club soccer. And so, that was always traveling. Almost every weekend we had like out of town tournaments all the time. Training 3 nights a week. Obviously you go home and you'd be training at home too to, work on different ball skills and stuff. And, I think, just all of that kind of subconsciously worked into, to working into a workspace. And it's interesting too, because the more that I was working my way through different restaurants, the more I realized that there was very little competition, because most people just, at the end of the day, they don't really care. Where I find myself to be a very empathetic person. And so, for a long period of time, I actually wanted to own my own restaurant. Yeah. And so, I really felt like I was able to see the importance that it was to the owners and the managers to actually have someone who is really going to care about their work. And I think that at the end of the day, it's like the biggest thing, just being able to actually care for somebody else's like goal and project other than my own.
And showing up sober.
Yeah, right. I might have been the only sober one on the staff. So
actually, if you're an ambitious chef, then you want to sabotage anybody above you. Like try to get them drunk and get them sauced.
Yeah.
Right. That is actually another thing that.
Oh, go ahead.
There's a lot of sabotage in kitchens.
Oh, I was kidding.
No, it is though. Yeah. In culinary school, it was a big thing, but in kitchens too, if you're in the wrong kitchen, you could be like cooking, gallons of soup, and you turn around and you're like prepping, and somebody comes by and they just like crank up the burner, and then like 4.5 minutes later, your entire pan of soup is burnt. But it's very cutthroat. Like the more high-end kitchen that you get into, the more cutthroat it is. And you definitely see. Yeah, it is. Because you think it's all like same goal, same whatever, but at the end of the day, they want the hours, they want, the attention from the owner, they want your job. So I had a lot of men, actually, 2 men specifically went to the owner when I was the executive chef, and, say something along the lines of like, give me her job, I could do better. And the owner fired both of them on the spot. So he had my back for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel stupid asking what is club sports? Is that like with the bat or with it?
No, sorry, like club, like like a club league, like a competitive club. So there's a high competitive team. So like I don't know what else to call it, like select or that was the other name we called it, but like just like a competitive league. So like different skills. So like I might have been like on a U15, so like everyone was like in my age range, but we were like the top tier of how competitive and skilled it was.
Okay. So it's just
so you
a
actually
higher level.
Yeah, a higher level. You actually had to pay to be on the team and like pay for like the uniforms and the travel and stuff like that, versus just being like a community sign up.
Oh, what club sport were you in? Growing up, my best friend was a tomboy. She was a girl. She was a tomboy. She played a lot of basketball. So when you mentioned the club sports thing as a younger age, it kind of brought me back to when I was younger.
Exactly. Yeah. So soccer, softball, and I played club basketball for a while, but basketball wasn't really my sport. I was fast, and so it worked to some degree, but soccer was my main sport.
Awesome.
So you have awesome calves.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you actually have? So I did. I biked to work for a year. It was a one way was I think 12 miles. So I forget something like 11 or 12 miles. So my quads actually got pretty massive, like to the point where my ex-girlfriend at night when she said if I was cuddling with her, my leg was so heavy. If I put it on her, it was just
it's a slab of meat.
She called it a massive, like a log, like a trunk. I don't know why I'm thinking of it. So to your soccer days, do you carry in your legs? Because with my biking, like my my thighs are still massive. Even, I mean, I actually have to buy jeans. I had a different ex-girlfriend that told me, hey, let's buy jeans that fit your legs because my thighs are still big. Tight. Yeah. So do you still carry that from soccer by any chance or anything like that?
Yeah. So my fiance and I actually call it soccer legs because you just always, I think you've just like grown muscle so almost disproportionately in your legs that my legs always have like kind of like a tone, like a soccer tone to them is what we call it.
Does she make you buy jeans? Does she make you buy jeans that form fit better to your legs?
It's come out to work naturally, I think, with the women's jeans. Yeah.
With mine, I think we spent like an entire week going from store to store to figure out what.
Wow.
It was.
You should go to Lululemon. You could just wear spandex all the time.
There you go.
I mean, from a guy to guy, does my thighs look abnormally big? I don't think.
I never look below your nipples.
Okay. All right, let's switch topics.
I respect you as a person, so I don't look below your chest.
Out of curiosity, for club sports, do you think that was also a psychological and or a thing to mature you even better? When I look at sports, team sports especially, I feel like that creates a way for someone to grow up quicker. I don't know if I want to say
you develop skills,
social skills. Yeah, social skills. But
yeah, I think it's really important to be a part of something that's bigger than just yourself. So like there's solo sports, like golf or tennis, which obviously those have their own set of skills, personal skills that teaches the player. But I think being like part of a team is really, really important for just like being a well-rounded person, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm a little biased in that, but I definitely think that playing sports is a great way to just kind of learn, a whole variety of aspects. But like I said, in terms of being a part of something that's bigger than yourself, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, I've probably derailed us much longer than normal on this topic. We probably should jump back to crypto or finance or something. Sorry, it started making me think of like I wanted to go deeper. Like, do you think like your confidence level to go on TikTok was that? Do you think from club sports and or even upbringing from parents that affect that to how you think about your TikTok? I don't know if we want to go into that or.
Well, it's funny because I actually used to hate the sound of my voice recorded. Every time I heard it, I would just like cringe. It was just always a weird thing. I never took pictures of myself. It wasn't actually until my fiance and I started dating. She's like very, very confident and just super, just open, like naturally. And I think, subconsciously that kind of, I started taking more pictures of myself. And, my first TikTok that I ever did actually was flipping furniture. I flipped a chair from Goodwill. And that video had like 4 million views in like 2 days or something. It just absolutely blew up.
Wow.
And so that was like the first thing where I was like, I might actually like be able to make something work here. And so then I started making content about stuff that I was actually passionate about, which was investing. And, it's kind of gone from there. But it's all really new skills that I've developed because, like I said, being in front of a camera and hearing myself talk was always very uncomfortable for me.
What's the flipping the chair thing? You meaning, is that where?
Yeah, so
is it a 360?
Are you being serious?
Is it? No, yeah. Is it a flipping at 360?
No. She bought a chair at Goodwill and then resold it through something else.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
tell us the story.
To it. Yeah, so I bought a chair for like $20, and it was like an old school like recliner rocker chair. And so I took the rocker off of it and put legs on it, and I removed the skirt and like cleaned it with the shop vac for like hours. Okay. It was so dirty. And then I sold it. Yeah, so flipping it. Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I heard Costco. I don't know why I heard Costco. You said Goodwill. I'm recalling my memories. You did say Goodwill. I heard Costco. So I'm like, why would you flip something at Goodwill?
Wait, how much did you make on this rocker chair?
So I paid $20. I sold it for $240. So I made $220 profit, not including profit. And like, I think I spent $10 on materials to make it happen. But I just like, I did a lot of staging for it, and I have a ton of houseplants. And so I just put like almost every houseplant I have around it and like put like a nice blanket on it. And it was, I was posting it on as like a boho chair. And like, that was like a very popular theme and like popular style, and it sold the same day. It went like crazy. Yeah.
Did you sell it on OfferUp or what? What platform?
Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did we buy this table on OfferUp? Are you bought this table?
I think it was OfferUp. Yeah. Underneath this table, it's pretty ugly. It used to be from a salon, and even it was hilarious because I mean, the story is probably not important for people to hear, but I'll just say it anyways. I get to the salon and the lady's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's so ugly." There's like a pretty nasty like white spot. I think the nail salon, they had their nails and stuff. Whatever chemicals got on it and it just bleached it. And she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, it's so ugly." I'm like, "I don't care. I just need the side of the table to clip the microphone arm." And she kept on saying sorry. I'm like, don't worry about it. Seriously, I don't care. We're not going to see this.
I'm sorry you have such bad taste in tables.
Were you always good with money, or did something change?
Probably my fiance, I think, because it got to a point, like I was always the mindset of if I had enough money for it in my bank account, then I could afford it. And so, I think I kind of went in and out of being good with money. But, like I said, like a couple of years after college, when I started investing again, it was starting investing that kind of transcended being good with money into all facets of life, because suddenly you want to put like as much money as you can into investments to like grow your investments as fast as you can. So yeah, I would say I wasn't always great with money. It's definitely been a skill that's been developed.
A random thought back to a tangent earlier. You said you didn't like to take pictures until the flipping of that chair. Do you think psychologically, what was that? Is that how did you overcome it? You mentioned maybe the flipping thing, and then also I'm thinking of Emmett doesn't like his voice. I think on this podcast. How did you overcome your voice and pictures also?
Yeah, I think I just
smooth,
kind of
sexy voice.
Just kind of post through it, and it got to the point where I was like, nobody's gonna know me on this app. In hindsight now, I have like old soccer teammates and like old friends from school, like, "Hey, I found your video," and I'm like, wow, like that didn't last long, but yeah, it kind of got to the point where it's like no one really cares. At the end of the day, like just kind of work through it, shake it off, and then eventually, I just kind of worked through it and got over it, really.
Do you have any favorite podcasts?
I listen to Joe Rogan a lot because I like a lot of his like controversial different things that he brings on. But I can't say I've listened to too many podcasts lately.
I'd like to get psychological into Taylor's head. So what was the picture, like not liking to take pictures, what's that stem from?
That's a good point. I really don't know. I just never did, selfies got like really popular when I was like pretty much ever since I've had a phone, which was like 2008 or something. And so, that was always super popular, and I was just always very uncomfortable with that. Just the aspect of like taking a picture of yourself and posting it just never like made sense to me in any way. And so, but yeah, just kind of like posting through it. And so actually there's this concept, it's referred to as sonder, which is the realization that everyone around you has a life that's equally as complicated and complex as your own. And I had that realization in high school, actually. A friend of mine, we were smoking pot and like watching cars drive by, and we had this like big realization because we were playing this game actually where you're like, playing like, where are these cars headed? Like, where are they going? And we joked because this car went by like so fast, and I was like, I bet maybe they're racing to the hospital. Maybe there's like bad news, or maybe it's good news. Like maybe their daughter's having a baby or whatever it may be. We kind of just had this like whoa moment, and we like looked it up, and yeah, it's sonder. And so that, and then between college and my first year psych class, we learned about what's called the spotlight effect, which is the thought that the tendency to overestimate how much people are actually paying attention to you. So it's that feeling like if you walk into a quiet room and you think everyone's staring at you, they're not staring at you. You just think they are. or, you know, even if you fall, like really nobody cares. Like besides maybe if you're like in middle school or high school, then people are going to be dicks and like maybe they'll laugh at you. But so yeah, so all of those things, you know, just over the last couple of years have really just worked in my favor to say like I don't care, like, you know, and to just try it. And more times than not, things actually tend to work out in my favor in that regard of just like, you know, just give it a shot. And then, you know, people were super receptive to my content, which obviously makes it all that much easier to keep going.
I've definitely resigned myself to the fact that nobody's paying special attention to me. I have to go out of my way to get attention. I have to do something to get people to give a shit.
A random question. All right, I'm just going to throw it out. If you guys, either of you have a thought on it, feel free. So I've had about 4 potential guests where I thought they would be good conversationalists. They would come on this podcast and they'd be great. But 4 of them, they were just shy. They didn't want to be on the air. They didn't want to see their photo. They didn't want to see a video of them online, or they don't want to hear their voice.
These are people you approach that decline to come on the podcast. Okay, yeah.
And they are people that I actually know fairly closely. All four of them. And I was trying to replay the scenario in my head. How do I convince them? How do I get them on? Because I think they talk so great. Their knowledge on their area of expertise is fantastic. But I can't get them on. I don't know. So I'm just throwing it out there. You guys think, is there a way I could convince these people through some coercion, blackmail, not blackmail, but you know, is there anything I could tell them? Like this podcast is really laid back. I don't know. Any thoughts? This is a weird question, I know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely just like a casual conversation, and to their benefit, or I should say even to my benefit, it is, you know, you have the opportunity to, as you even said in our initial interview exchange, or email exchange, is that if you misspeak in some way, you have essentially 3 hours to kind of retell that story back in your favor. And I think a lot of people just don't think that they're interesting and don't think that people would want to hear them talk. And, you know, that's just not the truth. But, you know, when we have social media and streaming networks in our face all day long, you think it takes like a certain special person to be worth listening to, but that's really not the case because everyone can be an expert in their own given field. You know, like there's some people who might be experts in bugs, and I have nothing to know about bugs. Actually, my nephew who's 7 is an expert in bugs. And, you know, whereas like, so everybody has their thing. And I think just like the understanding that you actually do have something interesting to say, whether you think it is or not, I think that goes a long way.
I think that's actually beautifully said. Next time I come across a guest like that, I'm going to mention that, hey, everyone's just normal. Like if you think you're not special, everyone is normal. You're normal. Come on my show and you'll see how you could look special, how your stories are special.
For sure.
I'm not. Just kidding.
So I think you mentioned the flipping the chair video to start was that to start your TikTok or was that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So I posted that video and it got 4 million views within like 48 hours.
Oh shit.
And so I wanted to start doing more stuff. And actually at the time I was running an Etsy shop where I was painting terracotta pots. And so I made a couple videos posting my pots, and it's funny because that was my side business, but I wasn't really that passionate about it. I just saw the opportunity in COVID. You know, I was in a bunch of Facebook groups and everyone started getting really into houseplants. And so I just saw like the business opportunity. And so I made the Etsy shop. But so then I still wanted to keep this content going with my TikTok. And so I was like, let me just make like the only content that I'm actually like passionate about that I feel like I could teach, which was the finance and investing. And then from there, it just kind of took off like crazy. So I'm very fortunate for that.
To give you a lot of credit on that recent TikTok video that you posted, I think you mentioned about your Etsy, the flower pots. And the thing that I really appreciated that you did was how much honesty you gave. And you showed, I think you showed almost how much it cost per pot, how much you were selling for. Yeah. And you even gave other information like, was it the t-shirts where it wasn't, when you sold the t-shirts, it's a different company. So you don't lose anything on that, or you're not risking anything. So you're only risking money on the pots. And it was just cool that I thought that you gave the information straight out for everyone to understand, and you didn't hide anything. I hate the videos where they're like, oh, do this and you're going to make money, but they leave out the important thing. Like, oh, this is going to cost you $5,000 or something. So
right, yeah, fortunately there is a lot of gatekeeping and just different aspects. Like the people want to tell you just enough to get your attention. So they don't want to give you all your secrets. Like that type of mindset. But specific to that video, I think Etsy makes an amazing platform for people to get started selling on, because it only costs 20 cents to list an item. And if you list an item and it doesn't sell, it only costs you 20 cents. And
Nice.
maybe like the hour, 2 hours to build your site and like make a pretty picture of your items or something. But like really in the big scheme of things, that's like no risk associated. And when it comes to the ability, some people are making 6-figure businesses off of Etsy, and it's 20 cents. And part of the fee after the fact, if you actually sell a product on Etsy, then they take some fees off the top, like for payment processing and advertising. But Etsy does all of their advertising for you. And so like Pinterest is a really popular website that they advertise on. And in the 8 months that I had my shop open, I did 200 sales. And all of those, I did 0 advertising myself. So yeah. And, that's the other thing too, I think is really cool with Etsy, is it's all handmade stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be, painting, but there's like a lot of woodwork on there, or different like handmade jewelry and stuff. So, I think it makes a really great place to do like more like mom and pop type gifts versus something like Amazon. Everyone loves Amazon, but you're not going to find something like intimate on Amazon because it's Amazon versus something that was handmade.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you transitioned your content, because if I had if I transformed a chair and got 4 million views, then my natural instinct would be, okay, I got to go find a bigger chair, or I got to go find a different chair,
or way more chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, do more of this, right? So that's
for sure. And I did start making more content about that. Like I flipped a table and some other thing. Actually, I ended up buying them and kept them because I liked the items so much. But I tried
sold them to
make
myself.
more content. Yeah, exactly. But it just wasn't as natural to me to like want. I like flipping furniture on the side, but not enough that I felt like I could really build like a brand, or not that I even started TikTok with the idea of making a brand. But it was very quickly to realize how fast something like this could grow into. And so, the content that I actually like talking about, was investing.
So with your popularity on TikTok, so this started in January, would you say your life is remarkably different, or you're still the same person and you just happen to post things? How do you see it?
I would say actually it is pretty different. So we were actually able to move out to San Diego after, but we moved out here in April. So I started my content in January.
Yeah.
And now, back in Phoenix, we were paying like $1,500 a month for rent. Now we pay just under $3,000 for rent. And, to actually be able to afford to live out here, it's always been a dream of mine to live out near the beach. It's so easy not to live somewhere expensive, because you can always make excuses that it's too crowded, too busy, too whatever, too expensive. But to be able to do something like that, so that I would say that certainly is my biggest change. And then I actually am investing a little bit less. Like, I've transferred from a lot less of I've transferred away from short-term day trades and more into long-term investing, because I don't sit on my computer for 6 hours a day and just like watch the charts. And so I've been able to kind of be able to make more content. I've had to transition to more of like a long-term investor.
So are you saying your popularity on TikTok has translated into some money that has allowed you to move? Is that the magnitude that we're talking about?
Yeah. So between different sponsorships, and so there's the TikTok Creator Fund, which is not a very profitable, it's like $100 a month, which is awesome. But, it comes down to like, like $1 a day, a couple dollars a day almost.
Not enough for rent.
And then, which is obviously no, but it's very passive income, But just different sponsorships, and then being able to start my Discord platform is not something I never would have been able to do prior. And I have 2 subscription services on my Discord platform. One is $15 a month, which allows people to have access to all of the trades that I make on the stock market and cryptocurrency, and then also some more like one-on-one like educational content. And then I have a $5 subscription, which is just the trade alerts. And that Discord alone is like a full-time job, obviously, as I'm sure you guys can imagine. But I have 2,000 people in the Discord on various subscriptions, and then and not all of them are paid. I also have like that part of that 2,000 is also just part of the free Discord. But yeah, just being able to do that and just kind of hone in on, you know, different business opportunities. And, you know, I'm trying to build just as much different content, different avenues as possible. Because that's the other cool thing about making content about finance and investing. I can choose to start a new business. And not only is it a potential income stream, but it's also a huge content stream, you know, where I can track my process the whole way around. So it's super cool. I'm very, very fortunate. I would have never imagined that something like this, you know, would have happened like 6 months ago when I started this account.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I'm just trying to really like just grab onto it, which was part of why I signed a manager, just to be able to take full advantage of this for however long it's going to last, and, you know, just kind of just see how far I can take it.
So go ahead.
That moment where you kind of were in Phoenix probably, and then saw a certain amount of money come through. Where was a point where you thought, wow, I could go from this was a hobby, and then now I need to make this serious. I need to take this a little bit more seriously and focus on it. Tell me that transition, and you mentally and what was going on.
Yeah, so it's funny you say. It was actually, I had like a lot of different talks with like some people close around me. It's like, because you feel like you're such a normal person, obviously, in yourself. And I'm making content, it's blowing up, and I'm like, I mean, like, you know, I'm being real, and like this is just doing really well. So, but you know, you kind of have that moment where you're like, wow, like people actually like to hear what I have to say. And, you know, so that was a really big thing. And just being able to actually like, you know, convey in my, because at first people were like, you should make a Discord, which has turned into be my biggest income stream. And, you know, at first I was like, nobody wants to be in my Discord. Like, you know, when you first hear it, you're like, yeah, I'll start a Discord. And then it's, you know, it turned out to be really well. But at first, you know, just kind of like diving right in. And that, what had helped me along the way is the mindset that I thought that no one that I really knew in real life was really paying any attention to this. And so that actually went a long way for me personally, just in my personality type. And like, you know, I've grown so much in the last 6 months as a person in terms of like just being comfortable doing whatever I want to do, and not, you know, as long as I'm not hurting anybody. But, you know, even like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I would have had a lot harder time to, you know, post even like the certain picture on Instagram or something, whatever it may be. You know, there's just so much thought that comes into those things. And so when my platform was first growing, I was constantly having conversations with my fiance, like, is this real? Like, you know, like I'm not just posting like clickbait that's like doing well. I'm actually just like being myself, and it's like they want to hear from me and stuff. So that was super surreal, and it still is. But
so is it that simple that you have fans, that people that like you and they like your content and they prefer you to all the other choices? Is it really that simple? Do you think that's what's happening?
So, I mean, yeah, I think, you know, I see a lot of people tell me that they, well, for starters, it's a male dominated field. And so I do have a lot of people, both men and women, tell me that they feel more comfortable asking me questions first. And that's just, obviously that's just something inside themselves, which is understandable. But, you know, I don't feel like a lot of creators actually have ill intention. They just might, you know, everyone has different communication styles. And so, you know, in that regard, I think that has gone a long way. Ironically, I think being a woman has actually hurt me in some way, or, you know, it has caused other challenges. You know, there's a lot of like sexist remarks that I get, which coming from kitchens, that's of no surprise to me and doesn't bother me in any way. But, you know, just certain hurt, like all the time I get people commenting like, never take finance advice from a woman, or, you know, just like little things. And I'm like, okay, buddy, like, you know, they literally bother me so little. But yeah, just the whole different things. But I do think that, you know, in some regards, in terms of like trust and communication, I think being a woman has been a bright side to that for sure.
And do you get some positivity from your fan base? Do they give you something, even just energetically, or positive? Like, do you gain some?
Definitely, yeah. I definitely have like this core group of followers who are comment on every video. You know, they message me on Instagram occasionally. They just always like kind of that like nice crowd who really just like boost you up, and like they like the content and they always have good communication about the content, and you know, that kind of core group, which makes it a lot easier to keep going when, you know, if somebody is being really nasty or, you know, whatever it happens to be. Because that's the thing with social media, is there's so much, like so many people are anonymous on there that some people can just come on and be totally nasty. And then, you know, so maybe I'll block them and then they make another account or start talking trash on other profiles about how I blocked them. It's like, well, it's not really surprising. Like, you don't go into somebody's house and just start like talking shit about them, you know, like you're going to get kicked out of the house. But and so with social media, it's such a different realm because, you know, everybody has a voice and they have a voice much louder than usually they do in real life. Usually they have like some keyboard confidence and, you know, kind of go from there. But
I maybe I'm lazy, but like I've never wanted so badly to like be nasty online. Like I've never hated something so much that I was going to go put some effort into being negative. Like worst case, I just won't watch it. Right. I'll just do something else, go somewhere else. But then to create another account to continue the the nastiness, like I can't even imagine being that angry.
Yeah. I think some people are just so unhappy in themselves that they'll just find, you know, it's like if you're driving on the road and like you accidentally cut someone off and they just freak out. It's like, you were upset before that incident. Like, you know, so like I think some people are just take it as an excuse to let out some anger.
Yeah. For Discord, was it, how many users did you know that you were going to have, or did it was it TikTok first, the 4 million, and then Discord? How did that work?
Yeah, so I had, at the time that I started my Discord, I think I had under 20,000 followers on my TikTok. And then, you know, but it was a core group of like 10 people who, like, somebody would say you should start Discord, and then they would get like 5 or 10 likes on it, you know, but I really had no idea. I imagined like 20 to 50 people would join the Discord. And then the first day it was open, I had 300 people join the Discord on a subscription service. And I was like, wow. And so that was like really shocking. And so, you know, I'm constantly looking for ways to like create that into more of a platform and like a better opportunity for people, because unfortunately it's not a very user-friendly platform. Like I do have a lot of people who will cancel because they just can't figure it out. Or, you know, because it's really, if you're not familiar, it's just like an app of different chat rooms, and then you can set different themes for the chat rooms. But that's really, it's very, very plain, unless you go in and like amp it up with like plugging in content, or, you know, sometimes there's read-only channels where the viewers can't actually comment on it. So those are the channels that I'm actually like presenting my daily messages. Or, you know, I personally pay about $400 a month in subscription services for different bots on my Discord.
Did you say 400?
Yeah.
$400
for bots?
Yeah, $400 a month for different subscriptions for like news article, like for different like Bloomberg News and Business Insider, like these different things, so that my users have access to these subscriptions through the Discord.
Yeah. Interesting. Really interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and there's like different ones that they can, you know, say you want to know when Bitcoin hits 25,000, you can go into one of the channels and set yourself a price alert, and then it will alert them with a text message, you know, like a Discord notification pop up when Bitcoin hits $25,000. So, you know, there's all these different things so that they can use, you know, just better ways for them to get more out of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is the basis of Discord like, so if I subscribe to Discord and I want to be on Taylor's Discord, am I paying $5 to listen to you speak live at some point, or how does that? What am I actually buying?
Yeah. So when you first get in the Discord, I think maybe the majority of the Discords are free. So like even on mine, I have a free service on my Discord, and then when you pay a certain subscription, it's going to unlock you different channels that you didn't know were there previously. And so, but yeah, like I said, it's just different chat rooms. So like there's Discords for everything. There's just Discords for real estate, photography, you know, just memes, like generic crypto, stuff like that. So I have mine broken up into general topics, which is obviously just friendly conversation, stocks, options, and cryptocurrency. And then, so those are like my 4 main categories. And then under each of those channels, we have like research and different bots, you know, that you can use, like whether it's to set price alerts or, you know, just different features that you can use. and go from there. But yeah, so unfortunately, that's why it's not the most user friendly for some people, because it's just a room of chat rooms pretty much. And so it's really up to the owner to make it more user friendly, because it's very, very plain until you go in and like kind of optimize it.
Cool.
On the topic, I'm jumping way back to where you said something about being female and how it might hurt your TikTok thing. Now take it from my personal stance, where I think if you take an attractive female and put her on TikTok talking about cryptocurrency, I feel like she would be able to ramp up her viewers way quicker than I could, because I'm not a female. How would how would you break down the good and bad of being female in this industry?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. So I think the percentage of people who wouldn't listen to me because I'm a woman is a very small, very negligible percentage of people. And like, good riddance, like I don't care. Like that's just silly if you're not going to listen to someone because of their gender. So I think that is like a relatively small percentage of people. But I've seen different male creators talk about this, about how like we should have more women in the space. Like, there's just a lot of subconscious prejudice against women. Like I don't even think people really understand what they are saying and how that could be prejudice, I've just had different conversations about like, I had one back and forth, and it was, how do you know so much about crypto when you still have to cook and clean all the time? Or like, all these different things. And it's like, okay, that's jackass. Like actually a genuine, like you're being like, that's an honest question from you, but like you clearly don't see like where that disconnect is and what you're asking. And like, so just like different things like that often I let them just go over my head. Cause like, I'm not going to sit there and argue with this person. And like, it's not me to like teach them a lesson about what they just said or whatever, But yeah, occasionally I will call people out on it, because I do have a platform of people who are watching me. And so if somebody is, something, occasionally I think it is your turn to be like, no, like, that's not, this is 2021, and, just little things like that. Like there's this creator who, there's this trend going around on TikTok, and it was like what's something that you know about that's going to confuse a lot of people? And this male creator held up a hardware wallet, and he's like, boys, let's confuse the girls. And so I like stitched the video, and I was like, no, I don't think, like, I see what you're going for there, but like you're making it seem as if women don't know about cryptocurrency. And actually my followers are nearly 50-50. And, my content is almost all cryptocurrency. So there definitely are women in the space. I just don't think they're as outspoken, and certainly not as many female creators in crypto as there are male.
Yeah, for doing my podcast, I invite everyone, female and male, and I have absolutely no bias whatsoever. But for some unfortunate reason, I find that I think probably 80% of our guests are male.
It seems like women are less likely to say yes and enthusiastically come on to our podcast.
And I think maybe from a cultural, psychological combination, that their self-esteem or they may feel like other guys may not want to listen to them or whatnot. And it's really unfortunate. I don't know how to, I'm just throwing it out. I have no point with this except for just saying, I wish there was a way I knew how to attract more females to get onto podcasts, especially my podcast. I would be super welcoming. I'm super thankful that you agreed to this. I actually, when I sent you the invite, I didn't think you would reply. I was just shooting for the stars, and one of the stars came back. So that was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Do you maybe, can you give me some advice on if I email other women, what keywords would you suggest for me to put in my email to make it more enticing for a female to come onto my podcast?
Are you doing anything that's scaring them off?
No. So, you got my pretty much template email. So it's just, I'd like you to be a guest on my show. I'm the host of this podcast, and that's kind of it. But from a female perspective, is there anything I could say that could help a little bit?
I would certainly say, like, and I'm not like sensitive to those things. Like I definitely kind of find myself more on the side of calling people out on those things. I was in this other Discord and the owner was like, we just started a females only chat room. And I like messaged him publicly. I was like, cause we're so scared to talk with you guys or something, cause it's just like, what do you mean? And so I'm personally not very sensitive to those things in regards to like, oh yes, I would love a female only chat room or whatever. But I certainly think like highlighting that, like, no pressure, just a casual conversation. And then, in time too, I think the more women that you have on, the more it'll benefit you to see other women. Cause that's another thing I get on my TikTok a lot too, is women will say like, you've really inspired me to do that. And it might be nothing related to crypto or finance at all. It might be starting their own business or, just in general, just the way they carry themselves. I think that, women are the exception and that they like to see that another woman has done it safely before they're willing to kind of like pioneer on it themselves.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. I think in earlier female potential female guests, I would send a clip of a female podcast. I didn't do that on yours, but yeah, I'll keep that in mind for the future ones.
We'll send a clip of Taylor talking them up.
Yes. Did you ever go through a phase of being a nervous wreck waiting for your day trades and maybe pulling out too early because of it? If yes, how did you overcome it?
I certainly did. And the way you overcome that is to understand the size of your portfolio and how much you should actually be trading. There are times that I was definitely allocating way too much for a single trade. I might be putting 20% of my portfolio on a single trade. And then it's like, well, shoot, I just lost, 15% of my portfolio, or whatever it happened to be. So I think really understanding risk management, not, I don't mean just risk management as in like setting a stop loss or trailing stop loss, but actually knowing how much of your portfolio should go into a single trade. Which, like, for an options trade, I never do more than like 1 to 2% of my total portfolio size, because especially with options, because there is so much level of risk and just guessing with them as if you're an options buyer, that I think, although when somebody starts a new account, they are so eager, understandably, to grow this account as fast as you can. And obviously you do that by putting more on the table. But really, it's like slow and steady, which is really what's going to make your portfolio last. Because at the end of the day, that's the goal, is to go on to trade the next day, right? To have capital left to get to the next day.
Don't gamble too hard.
I think, exactly. Yeah. So I think the number one thing with that, with all levels of emotional control with trading, is just not putting too much in a single trade.
So this slow and steady is just, the one time if you're able to buy and anticipate an innovative, transformative technology, and if you're able to handle the loss, because at that time we didn't know. I mean, Ethereum could have freaking crashed, Bitcoin could have went up, or all of it could have crashed. There's really no way to. Funny thing too, on 2017 or 18, I think it was the end of 2017, there was that massive spike, the massive bull run, and then it crashed down 90%.
Yeah.
And I was buying after the crash. All my friends, they're like, "You're fucking crazy, man. Yeah. You're buying more." And I'm like, "Dude, you buy low, sell high. That's the game plan." And everyone thought I was crazy. And then I think it was interesting to parallel my friend who got into Ethereum before I did. He was the one that suggested Ethereum. And all his friends are saying, "Hey, sell out." Each phase of its climb, like at one point he bought, I think he only bought $500 worth of Ethereum, and then it went up to where his portfolio was somewhere like $20,000. So all his friends like, "You fucking dumb shit, sell. You could buy a fucking car." And at that time he's like, "Well, I think it could probably eventually buy a house." And they're like, "You fucking dumb shit, don't
take the money and run."
Yeah. Then it got up to the house range later, like within, I think it was only 6 months. And then all his friends, once again, "Fucking you dumb shit, sell out, buy a fucking house." And he took it personally. He's like, "Damn guys, like chill out. This is my money." And he said, "No, I think I'm gonna hold out. This might be retirement money soon." And then his friends were like, "You fucking dumb shit." And that was the last straw for him. He's like, "I'm not talking to you guys anymore." And he kind of dropped them. So then he held on, and it was retirement money, and he did retire. So let's jump back to, so yeah, 90%. So my portfolio is 90% Ethereum. Technically, I broke it down after I emailed you. I was actually curious. I'm 87% Ethereum, 5% Bitcoin, and that leaves 8% other. What's your portfolio breakdown?
I'm probably like 60% Ethereum, 10 or 15% Bitcoin. And then, so I do right now, I currently actually have a chunk of stablecoin, just because near the top of this market, I transferred over to stablecoin with some of my like more short-term positions. And I've yet to like buy back into some of those positions, just waiting to see, you know, where this is going to go. But I've really kind of gone to more of like just a dollar cost average mindset. You know, certainly the last 6 months or so might not have been the right time to do that. And so I wasn't really, but, you know, I think now we're getting back into a more of an opportunity where you can just kind of put it on cruise control and just, you know, just kind of throw, you know, currently I have about like 500 going into Ethereum every month. Which I'm happy with. I would like to up that, just because I'm I just have a really good feeling about Ethereum. But you know, I would love to buy Ethereum under 1200 if it goes that low again, which it might. You know, it kind of flutters around all the time. But you know, being like way more into it this year than I was in 2017 when I had bought into it. I feel like I'm trying to catch up on lost time, you know, so you know, eager for the next official bear market prices to see where that can go. But
so I've been telling a lot of friends lately, try to, if you could financially afford it with the disposable income, try to get around $10,000 or $20,000 into cryptocurrency, hopefully a majority into Ethereum. And I tell them hold for about 7 to 10 years. That's right. And hopefully that's enough maybe for retirement. Now that sounds crazy to me because, I mean,
yeah, because who's got 20 grand laying around them? most people spending up to their eyeballs and buying new TVs and getting a new car payment. And
what's your thoughts on if you heard me say to somebody and you're next to me, I said to a friend like, hey, try to get in $20,000 if it's disposable income. What's your thoughts on that from your?
I would have to say I agree, you know, and it's funny you say that, because right now I see so many comments on my TikTok of people saying like it's dead forever, like it's never coming back, you know, and it's like, you know, don't take offense to this, but you've clearly not been in cryptocurrency long, you know, like this is cycle, you know, this is like just like part of the bigger picture. And, you know, especially right now with all the other things that are going on in the broader market, you know, like what the prices with Bitcoin right now aren't specific to Bitcoin. You know, it has a lot to do with like the broader market and like COVID reopening and Delta variants and stuff that we've been seeing the last couple weeks and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of at a position right now that like as much as you can afford to put into crypto, you know, obviously with the mindset that you're taking a little bit of risk, but also, you know, you're not going to go hungry if you lost it, you know. I think, you know, the more the merrier, really.
Now to Emmett, when I say $20,000 into Ethereum and then you could hopefully retire in 10 years.
No, I think it's good advice. I just think most people aren't able to hear that. They hear 20 grand and that's some crazy number that, like if I had 20 grand, I wouldn't be sitting with you. I'd be riding around in my new Mercedes. Right? Because they're paying their bills. They go to their day job and they, you know, whatever money they have, they spend up. You know, I got kids to feed and I got to save up for their private school. And, you know, the kid wants a saxophone and that's $600. And then my mom needs money. And like people in America I mean, the numbers are out there that people don't have a lot of money laying around. Right. And even people that make 70, 80 grand a year, which is great, which is huge and difficult in America, those people don't have money laying around. It's not like they make more money and they save it. They make more money and they spend it. They spend more. Yeah. Like, oh, we need a nicer house now because I have 2 kids coming and, you know, my dog needs a yard and, oh, the dog needs hip surgery. So people seem to find ways to piss through all their money. So I think for most people, myself included, up until, you know, 10 years ago, he said, hey, spend 20 grand on crypto. I'm like, yeah, I wish I had 20 grand. Like if I had a grand, I'd be a lot happier. Meanwhile, I'll drive in my used Corolla back to work.
I think that's a decent segue to this online question, which is they asked, I think this or the question was originally targeted for Taylor, but it looks like you may have some input too.
Americans suck. No.
This person asked, how do you suggest for people to live debt free? What are, with the feel of the crunch, not living financially comfortable, rising rent, inflation, it doesn't make it so easy for money. So if they're asking how to live debt free and how to get out of debt, or how to deal with inflation, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think living below your means, like people love, myself included, I think we all get wrapped up in this in one way or another, whether it's, the fancy car or a fancy microphone I had to have, or, like
I saw that new stuff on the TikTok. I think recently just got that, right?
Yeah, I did. And I love it. It's like a great little toy for me, but did I really need it? So I think it's so easy to spend money. If somebody was really interested, I would say delete all of your social media, because you just get so tied in, especially given on your generation and how long, at what point in your life were you introduced to social media. But I think, we as people just get so wrapped up in spending and kind of like a flashy lifestyle, and also like the mindset of, wanting experiences and like, so you want to go travel, and it's like, that's great, but some of these things are also going to leave you working this 9 to 5 that makes you miserable for an extra 10 years because you wanted to go to Italy for a month, or whatever it happens to be. But I think if people can get away from the need for instant gratification and can instead transition themselves into something a little bit more long term and be able to see like the bigger picture. Another thing, actually, I was making content in regards to the stimulus check. And so I was like, if you took this $1,200 check and you invested it 6 months ago, this is how much money you had if you invested it in like XYZ. And that was it turned out to be a very controversial. Thank you. So that actually turned out to be a very controversial topic, because people, it turned into like I earned this. I worked during the pandemic, and so I earned this. I need to go get my nails done, or certainly, of course, people were paying off bills on their house and like all these things, and so unintentionally, it turned out that obviously some people needed that money and were using it for what I feel it was intended for. And then like you were saying earlier, is that some people, money habits are generational. And so I think people who don't come from a lot of money, they look to spend money when they have it. And, so I think that's kind of like a hard topic for people to learn, understandably, is that, when you don't have something, like when you don't have money, you want to have it so that you can spend it. You don't want to have it so that you can save it. I think that's kind of like the general mindset. So in terms of like, transitioning yourself out of debt, I think the biggest thing is to release the need for instant gratification, because even when it comes to like weight loss or something, like you might work out once, but if you don't see those results, some people have a really hard time to keep that going. And it works the same way with like debt. You got to just pay off like the high interest debt first and just kind of like keep crunching at it and stuff. And unfortunately, that can also be, a slow project.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I subscribe to the Reddit financially independent thread, the subreddit, and
Fire.
The Fire thread. And it's interesting. The majority of the stuff is really living below your means. And some of these stories is kind of crazy, where some of these guys are making like $40,000 a year, and they're just cutting costs to just be able to store away $100 a month, $200 a month. But some of these guys are doing that for 15 years, and they put it into stocks and they're building up. That seems a bit extreme. I would have rather, you could cut your costs and then try to find a different career that makes 60, 70, hopefully, that's easier said than done too. But
it's interesting. I remember, so when I finished college, I got an accounting job. I was making $40,000 a year, and it's barely enough to pay your bills. Like I paid rent, paid my car and insurance, and at the end of the month, I've gone out to dinner with my friends a couple times, went out drinking Friday night. and there's not a lot of money left. Like I'm paying down credit cards, and it's like I was never getting anywhere, never getting ahead. If I could go back and advise myself when I was kind of trapped in that situation, I was trapped like treading water, right? They call it the rat race or the, not getting anywhere. If I could go back, I would say, you know what? Go deliver pizzas on Sunday. Because I'm working Monday through Friday, right? And I'm pissing away my weekends and relaxing and, dreading Monday. But if you could go deliver pizzas or something on Sunday, save that money separately. Whatever you make that day, if it's $100 and, it's tips or whatever that little paycheck is, that's that $100 that day that is separate from, save that separately and save that to do something good. If you save up enough to pay off a credit card, great. If you save up enough for that trip to Costa Rica, great, right? So that becomes that drive to hustle and get somewhere that I was missing at that time. That never occurred to me. I just felt trapped and felt like, oh man, where does this end? Because it's not like, what's the best case scenario? I get a raise for 5% or something, or I go get a different accounting job for $45,000 a year. Is that really going to make a difference?
Right. And that's another important thing too, is, establishing passive income, because, right now I would say like the very large majority of people, their income is tied directly to their time. Yeah. And so, there's, to a degree, obviously dependent on your salary or hourly wage or whatever, you're really kind of capped on how much you can make. But, if you can establish different levels of, passive income, obviously, like I said, but even like you said, like outside of your 9 to 5, even if it is $100 a month, like, okay, that's water bill and maybe electric too, or, that's your Wi-Fi bill, which like, and that's the other thing. I see that, some people, they underestimate how much that actually is for them. It's like, well, that's just a water bill. It's like, that's actually a lot though. Like if you can cross that off your list and like disregard that, forever because you worked one extra day for 3 hours with a buddy driving pizzas around, or, whatever it happens to be. I think those things can go a long way too, because unfortunately with money, some people, like I was saying, it's such a generational thing that you might have like this ingrained thought that this is all you're going to have. And that's just the end of it. And there's never opportunities. But, I think that is the great thing, especially with like technology now, is there's always opportunities in one way or another, whether you're editing resumes for somebody or throwing $10 into Dogecoin, which later turned into, your religion now because you love Dogecoin so much, or whatever it happens to be. I think if people can like open their mind to what the opportunities are instead of kind of just like putting themselves in a box. Easier said than done, of course, but that's part of what I want to do and aim to do with my content is teach people who weren't previously taught about money, because I'm fortunate that my parents were always very good with money. And so, my mom was always said like, put 10% of your paycheck away every single paycheck. I never did. But in hindsight, that was amazing advice. And like some people are never told those things, or even like putting your teenage child on your credit card. If you have good credit, as an authorized user, they don't even have to have access to that credit card. So they're not going to go start charging your credit card, but they could still benefit their credit because they were an authorized user on your account, and like, so those kind of like loophole things. And, like even with taxes, I think like some 90% of the entire tax record is incentive based. So to be able to learn different ways to, and that's why the wealthy pay less in taxes because, maybe they invested in real estate or, put it through their LLC or whatever it happens to be. But, just like teaching these things that should all be like, it is a right for people to know, right? Because everybody works with money, needs money. And so I think to be able to grow someone's just common knowledge about finances, I think is very powerful.
That's great. The more we know about money, the more we can be smart about it, the more we can benefit ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And money is such a personal thing. Like for a lot of people, understandably, it's taboo to talk about, even still, unless you're talking about a large sum of money, somebody might be talking confidently about their $40,000 salary. And then somebody else making $80,000 might have a negative look on that person because they're only making 40. It's like, well, that $40,000 person, depending on how they're spending, they might be making a very comfortable living or, 40 is a stretch, but you know what I'm saying? Like, And so I think, yeah, the more that we can just open the conversation about money, the more it can empower people to really be able to take care of it for themselves, because that's really the foundation to like to make things work, is to just understand your money, and be able to like look at it and not be uncomfortable talking about it, because the more that you can talk about it, the more that you can, you know, learn from it and grow it and all those things. So it kind of just all snowballs. But unfortunately, it is kind of like this black box taboo for a large population of people, I think.
Yeah, that's an awesome vibe. Let's open the black box.
Yeah.
Right.
Very cool.
For passive income, have you dealt with Amazon Amazon FBA, fulfillment by Amazon?
FBA.
FBA.
So I've actually looked into it, and it's actually something that I was looking into doing more recent, just part of it as like a content stream. And also, you know, I like the concept of it, you know. So essentially you find a product and then you send it to a warehouse in Amazon, and then it's depending on your SEO volume on Amazon website, you know, you get orders, and then Amazon ships it for you, and they handle all of the returns, and they handle all of the customer service, and, you know, things like that. And so obviously I think that's a great concept, but the problem with that is that Amazon is so competitive. You know, there's millions of sellers, if I'm not mistaken on that number, you know, million plus sellers on there. And the thing too is like a lot of these products might come from like Alibaba or like some of these different manufacturing websites. And so you buy them in bulk. And so there might be 15 of the exact same product, and somebody's just going to beat you out for because they can make their price more competitive, which is not the game that you want to go down, you know, where you're just like cutting pennies just to be a little bit more competitive than the next person. So I definitely think it's very cool. It's actually something I want to look into more, but finding that product is really like the golden egg, because without that, you're just going to get buried in everything else.
So you want to find something that nobody else is selling? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so you actually want to find something that people are selling, right? Like, for instance, I was watching a video the other day, like you want to find like doormats, right? Like, let's say that there were 50,000 doormats sold last month. Like, you want something that is actually selling, because then people are interested in it. But maybe your doormat, for one reason or another, is just special enough that it doesn't make it like a niche product. You know, it can actually be like someone can see that being done, but it's not just another doormat, you know, or whatever it happens to be, whether it's like an iPad pen or a phone case. Like, you know, you need to know that there's actually a market for that product. It needs to be just different, like just enough. So you can actually compete with people in different ways. One of them being price, which I never recommend actually going down the price competition, because somebody is always going to, even if they're losing money on it, like somebody's always going to beat you on a price. So, you know, maybe you're selling coffee cups and, you know, yours comes with gold spoons too, you know, like whatever it happens to be to make your product just a little bit more special, to stand
gold
apart.
Spoons in my coffee. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm sold. That was easy.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah, I think the SEO thing that you mentioned, I did a tiny bit of research on it years ago. So like the SEO thing with Amazon, say floor mats, and for whatever reason you get this SEO tool that you usually have to pay for, and it'll search floor mats. Like say you search memory foam floor mats, and there's a segment of that market that there's no product for that, but yet it's still a floor mat. So so if you see the numbers high enough, then you take that you go to Alibaba, see if they're able to produce a memory foam floor mat for a certain cost or whatever you figure out is good, and then you.
So you want to find the thing that people are searching for most and haven't found, or can't find.
That's a good way to put it.
Like a bumblebee shaped golden floor mat.
What's that coming from?
I don't know.
Yeah. If there's a bumblebee, if in that tool you would search bumblebee floor mat, and you'll see this graph thing that says in the last day there was 50,000 people that searched for that. And then I believe it'll show what products were bought. And then you see no bumblebees in there. No bumblebee floor mats. Then you probably have a target market that should go into.
That's easy. I want to sell something in the shape of Jeff Bezos' head.
Hey, I'd actually have a market for that one. For sure. And I will say, I actually applied for a position so Whole Foods was bought by Amazon a couple years ago, whatever it was. And I was doing a part-time job of just being a shopper inside Amazon. Like they have the app and you just go around and you shop orders for people who are picking up their grocery store orders. And so my hiring process was through Amazon. It was the least personalized experience I have ever encountered. It was like they were just sending robots like through a machine. So I showed up to a hotel. They had rented a conference room out of a hotel. And they had, just a line that you just walked through, and you just like at each person that you just gave your name, they took your picture. I don't think they asked me anything about my skill set, or, maybe that was different because of the job that I was doing, low entry, but it was very strange. It was very much like just like kind of a robot system. No, like
they didn't pretend to care about you at all.
No, not at all. Yeah, right. They didn't even pretend. Like, yeah, it was very strange.
During your Amazon FBA research, did you happen to see the courses that they have where it's like $1,000 or $5,000 for a course to learn about it? What's your thoughts so far?
Yeah, so my problem with that is I've yet to find something that I really felt like every time that I see something like this, I always get these kind of red flags. Just because it seems, I don't know, like just kind of like scammy, kind of douchey, because they're always like, I made 6 figures, which of course, if you're going to be successful in something and you're selling someone on it, you're going to be open and transparent about those numbers, but I've always just had like a very weird feeling about those. But with that being said, I mean, if you're embarking on something new, like you wouldn't, like if you're learning computer code, obviously you're going to pay for some sort of boot camp or something to like, you can learn it yourself for free, but you can also, purchase the right course, and which is going to like take it to the next level for you. So I do think it's possible, but, from my personal experience, I've yet to find anything that I really felt, didn't give me some kind of like bad feeling.
I can say that in my life experience, if somebody ever figured out some way to make a bunch of money, their instinct at that point, and mine too, would not be, oh, I got to go tell everybody how to make money like this. My instinct would just go do more of that. Like if I figured out how to make 10 grand a month, I'm just going to keep doing that and go try to do more of that. That's the other thing too, is most of those are opening like, I was so successful and I want to help you be successful. And like, of course, there are people who feel that way. Like, instead of build a higher fence, they want to build a longer table, kind of share the wealth and share the information. But, if you're so successful at it, like, why aren't you just doing this like 10 times over? Why are you suddenly pivoting your business model to teach other people? It's just like something in there just doesn't fit right. Yeah. Well, it seems they're always selling you a product, right? Here's the book. Here's the,
For sure.
I'm going to jump to cryptocurrency. When there's the breakdown of M0, M1 money in the world, have you thought about how much could go into cryptocurrency?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Oh, so like M0, I believe is, I forget the numbers. I think it was for.
It's one of them. How much money is in the world?
Yeah, I think M0 is it's printed money, liquid cash that you could hold. So I think I might be wrong in this. I think it was $40 trillion in the whole world. M1 is, I believe, bank loans, home loans. I believe stocks. I think stocks was in there, and I think that's 1.4 quadrillion. So when I think about crypto, I look at that number and then I try to think, okay, we got a market cap of crypto that's I think 1.3 trillion currently. And it was at a peak a few months ago at I think 2.6, something like that. And if M0 or M1 can all go into crypto, or even if it was 10%, I try to think about the global market cap, and I don't know. I try to think and try to guess how much would go in. From what you guys are
saying, like in the future, I have cash in my pocket that I spend, and I have money on a debit card that I spend. But if in the future some percentage of my money that I spend could be used in crypto, what if 10% of my money, is crypto that I'm spending? Are you saying that in effect, some supply of the world's money then becomes cryptocurrency? That's why we care about the market cap? is that it represents how much money can go into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is just all speculative talk. So whatever you guys say, I'm not like, there's no way to quantify this. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but with 40 trillion in M0 and I think 1.4 quadrillion in M1, what percentage from your accounting background? I know it's not finance, and then a little bit of the financial knowledge that Taylor, that you have. I don't know. Do you think people are going to put in 10%, or do you think crypto could actually take 100%, or even close? Is it 80%?
I definitely think that, before we would see any kind of number like that, I think we do need some level of regulation, because I think there's a lot of big money that's scared to get into the space, understandably, because even though Bitcoin since its creation has been the single best performing asset since its creation, but I think there's still just a lot of uncertainty. And then, as you guys know, last year, 35% of all US dollar was printed in the last year, so all these things like kind of are pivoting as being this big monumental shift, potentially, in terms of like global financial and stuff. And in terms of a percentage of what that could really be, I think, like I said, I think we would wait to see some sort of regulation to see, how much the government or they, whoever you want to refer to, is going to actually let take place. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much, right now it's kind of like this wild west of like getting away with things before they're really locked down. Hopefully, I've heard some talk that, maybe the SEC it's not even in their jurisdiction to really lay regulations, which I'm sure they would find a way to make that in their ballpark,
They would love to.
Yeah. But I think that's like kind of an interesting pivotal moment to see, and I'm pro regulation with crypto, just because I think it's what is necessary if it can be done the right way without just totally like torching the little guy, to kind of take things to the next level, to be more established and more of like a long-term safe asset that, you could put your house money that you need in 5 years into crypto. Whereas like right now, you probably wouldn't put your house money into crypto,
I think it's more a question of usability. It's not super easy to use crypto right now. If you wanted to use your cryptocurrency to buy and sell stuff, it's a little bit harder than other forms of digital cash. But in terms of acceptance, I think anybody younger than us just sees it as another type of digital cash, right? There's no resistance there. There's no questioning about it. So I think the easier it becomes to use and the more use cases there are for it, the more ways to spend it, then you'll just see it continue to snowball and grow. So whatever amount of money is in cryptocurrency now, can it double? I think easily. Can it go 10 times? I think easily, as far if you're looking at market cap, right? So would people put 10 times as much money into crypto? I could see that easily happening with the way our world progresses and the way things change and the way our world is changing faster every day. Nobody could have guessed 20 years ago that we'd be sitting here having this conversation. So how can I possibly guess what it's going to be like 20 years from now? Easily, crypto could become such a huge thing, and then something else could be even bigger after that. Who knows what technological advances will come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I find it exciting. I'm hopeful.
Yeah. I'll take a stab at the regulations on my sci-fi thoughts. Because decentralization is a fundamental of I'll call it a good cryptocurrency, because you're going to have XRP that's centralized, EOS that's centralized, but the stereotypical cryptocurrency is open source, decentralized, and cannot be stopped. You'd have to EMP the world, blow up every computer, to take us back to the Stone Ages, to stop cryptocurrency. Now, I understand the SEC America is a big, they have so much power. They're able to really hurt cryptocurrency. But I think they can't stop it. So that, to me, I think when you can't stop something, there's just I feel like you could only pause it. They could hurt it. It'll maybe go down a little bit, but it's going to go up. This is unstoppable. Decentralization. I think it's going to be a paradigm shift. I wish I would be able to talk with. I want to get some cryptocurrency developers on and ask them about their thoughts on decentralization if they see it the same way that I do. Because when you get decentralization, the truth by consensus, that's a paradigm shift. Emmett's heard me say it so many times. He thinks I'm fucking crazy, but
no, not at all. I think you're crazy for other reasons.
So I think that's an interesting aspect of cryptocurrency that I think from finance that there is no way to quantify that. So when we look at stocks, we think about Facebook. Okay, Facebook has X amount of employees. It has a building. It has so much money it put into that building. It has so many servers. How much cost is that server? So there's a financial value. They could try to quantify that. I guess the hard thing would
well, their biggest value is their ad revenue.
Yeah,
talk about
and
Facebook,
you could quantify that because they could see how many people are viewing those ads. They have a price on those ads. Whereas cryptocurrency, as a paradigm shift on things that we have yet to even understand. Meaning, my thoughts on a decentralized insurance company or decentralized voting for a government, voting for your president, that you can't be stopped and can't be hacked, virtually can't be hacked, mathematically can't be hacked. It could be possible, but it's improbable. Anyways, so I think the stocks, there's no way to quantify crypto to that. If people look at graphs and look at the ups and downs of crypto, to me, that's slightly, what's the word? It's not fully connected. Yes, it is. There is a connection. Yes, there is a connection, but the future of it will be so different, I think. So yeah.
That reminds me, there's actually this interview with Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum. And, he was doing a Q&A after a session. And somebody asked him, like, so what do you think the price of Ethereum will be in 6 months? Yeah. And he just like kind of stutters on the answer. And he's like, I don't care about the price or whatever he happens to say, because, these guys, if they're in it for the right reasons, the price is so like not important at that given time period, because we're so early in what could be in some of these things. And so that's why I think I've personally transitioned myself to certainly be more long-term with my investments, because the more that I learn, the more I realize like I'm not selling these things, I'm not going to kick myself and think that, wow, I had Ethereum at, even if it was like $1,500 or whatever, to think that I sold and now it's at, whatever it happens to be 10, 20 years from now. But really, the more I learn about crypto, the more I learn about crypto, the more long-term of an investor I've become.
Have you guys heard anything about Peter Thiel investing? I think I sent you the article, investing in a decentralized exchange. Is that a new thing? It looks like he put a lot of money into it.
Was it 2 billion, I think?
Yeah, something heavy.
So decentralized exchanges, I thought back in 2017, I thought that was a year where it looked like a lot of people were going to build decentralized exchanges. So a decentralized exchange is, right now, like say a centralized one is Coinbase. That's the biggest one in America. So they have a centralized server. With a decentralized exchange, you build a bunch of, you build the logic for all the mining servers to do that exchange for you. And you just pay the fee from the mining servers. And it's just like a gas fee on Ethereum. You just be doing exchange on a DEX, a decentralized exchange. So that DEX would just have that fee built in, and you should be guaranteed pretty much the cheapest exchange fee.
Right. Because there's not some company in there taking a profit.
Yeah. So I think decentralized exchanges, the missing link is probably a fiat exchange. I don't know how you build I'm all for cryptocurrency and the movement, the software and everything, the innovation. But I think a missing link that they'll have is, how do you get the USD dollar? What is the mechanism to get some person or robot or something to say, you put in $1 to buy Ethereum on this DEX. This DEX is just a computer piece of code that it can't recognize $1. And how would it take that $1?
Then you buy in through Coinbase or somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think DEXs could be a powerhouse once we get enough people that buy through Coinbase and have crypto. Then DEXs will become a very massive thing. Because with DEXs, then that's borderless. That's it can be the facilitator between all cryptos could be.
Is Binance the closest thing to that now?
Only, I would say Binance only because they have the most coins. The Binance International, not the Binance US.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, like it's funny you say that because I always, like the last couple months, I've really worked with like MetaMask and Trust Wallet, which are, you know, software wallets, and just avoided centralized exchange almost exclusively. So, you know, I'll use like Pancake Swap if it's on the Binance Smart Chain, or Quick Swap, which is Matic's smart chain, decentralized exchange. You know, that's really nice. Except the problem with Ethereum, which is the benefit of Matic, is that the Ethereum, like for Uniswap, which is a DEX on Ethereum, the gas fees can be pretty outrageous, especially if you're making like a smaller transaction. That is one problem. You know, if you have a smaller portfolio, is the gas fees are like disproportionate, and that it hurts you more if you have a smaller investment versus if you're making a big investment. It transitions to benefit you more the bigger your investment is. But yeah, you know, and another piece to that education too is they're not the most straightforward, those decks, and they all have like their own kind of branding, you know. So like Pancake Swap for Binance Smart Chain, they might have like liquidity pools or something, but they call them like syrup pools, or, you know, kind of all these like play on words to fit their branding, which to a new investor can be quite confusing, because like, why is it called syrup over here, but it's called, you know, pool over here, you know, whatever it happens to be. But
that's great information. Have you used any of the dexes?
Yeah, so I do, like for the different like small altcoins, and when I was like playing around with these different meme and hype coins momentarily, was on Pancake Swap, because most of them were Binance Smart Chain. And then so very early on, I actually was looking to throw like just some change on Shiba, because I was hearing about it everywhere. And I think I was going to throw like $50, and it was going to cost me $20 in gas fee. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just, you know, in hindsight, I actually would have made decent money on that investment, but I don't even care, because like those gas fees, I was like, come on, I'm just like not participating. I'm just not participating in that. Yeah, so I have used a couple of the different decks, and I like them, but you know, from like an education standpoint, I think that is one missing piece, you know, especially with, I think one of the single scariest things about investing in crypto is when you are sending crypto to a next wallet address, and you're like copy pasting this like 30 character thing, and then you just have to sit and wait. And I've had transactions on Binance take like 4 hours before. And so you're just like, holy crap, like, please don't tell me that I just sent this to the wrong
nowhere.
Yes, exactly, to nowhere. And then even with gas fees, it's like, okay, so you could try with $5 just to test it and make sure you're right, but that might cost you $4 in gas fee or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, but I think, you know, I think a DEX is like kind of where that place, like where the crypto space should go, and like is going to go, kind of the natural path. But I think understandably, the centralized exchange are a lot more comfortable for some people like to get into.
Yeah, there's some assurance that if you screw up, that they can help you and save your transaction.
Yeah, totally.
Pull your money back somehow. Yeah.
All right, we're going to step into the final questions sections. We got a bit of time, so go ahead, elaborate on these questions if you want, and or go into tangents. What great daily habits do you have?
Ooh, I can obviously think for just a second, right? And you can make it look like I'm a little more witty than
no, I'm keeping it now.
Great habits. So one habit that I have been working on, which has been working really well for me, is to not be on my phone after like 6 or 7 o'clock, because being that I do work on my phone too, you know, I always have an excuse to be on my phone, whether I'm being completely recreational on my phone or if I'm actually doing some level of work. But being able to like cut that off has helped me be much more productive in times when I do need to be on my phone and do need to work. And then obviously from like a relationship standpoint, my fiance certainly appreciates it when I'm not just like have my face in my phone all the time. Because that's the other thing, being like self-employed, is I can't always find new work somehow, you know, even just scrolling TikTok and like putting comments out there. Like I've had, sometimes you comment something and that comment might get a couple thousand likes. And so that's sending people to your page too. So,
wow.
Even just being active on the site as a whole also kind of works towards branding. But the biggest thing is actually finding like a timeout period to like turn off the phone and just like step away from it so that I can be more productive when I do eventually go back to it.
That's impressive, because I've heard some people say like after 9 or 10 p.m. or something, but 6 or 7,
that seems early.
No, but I mean, it's a real commitment to unplugging, because now some sizable portion, some chunk of your night is not in the addiction machine.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
That we all live on. Yeah.
And that's another thing too. If you guys haven't seen, you might know what it's called, like the social. It's not Social Dilemma. That's it. Yeah. So if you guys have seen the Social Dilemma, it talks about, it's from different employees who used to work at like Pinterest or Instagram or Twitter, who worked on the algorithm to make you addicted to your phone. And it talks about the different ways that we are addicted to our phone and how our brain reacts to text messages, and even just the design of like TikTok and Instagram and these different platforms, like the connection that your brain gets to these things. There's actually a period in the movie where the gentleman was saying that he was working on Pinterest all day at work. He was building this to make it more attractive to people. And then he found himself coming home at the end of the day and sneaking off to his room to like scroll through Pinterest as a user, and so it was just talking about how these things, like, they were all kind of talking about it as a way of like, we did not intend for it to be as like crazy as it's become, and almost feels like it's gotten out of control for even the creators to it's kind of turned into like this big beast that's kind of taken like a mind of its own.
Yeah, and in a weird way, if there is some social media or some app or some website that isn't addiction creating, it almost necessarily fades away, because you're going to go spend your time on the things that are addicting.
Yeah. I understand you with my wife when I'm working on cutting all these podcasts. So, and then there's so many aspects to it. I'm contacting people to see if they want to schedule a time. I'm
editing,
doing video editing. I'm doing screening of the guests prior. I'm doing some research on the guests. I'm maybe doing trailers for upcoming videos, collaborating with those guests to see if they want to release those trailers and all this stuff. And there's times where it could be 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I mean, it's happened at 11 p.m. Someone emails, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot to email them that trailer, or I forgot to do something I was supposed to. So then I look at my wife, I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to do this. I totally feel you. And but I do try, I am cognizant of that too. As in, I try to think, okay, how many hours was I video editing today? How many hours did I spend with my wife? Where is she happy? Like, let's balance that.
Definitely. And I can definitely say that I feel I've found a better connection to making better content when I'm not just pumping out content 24/7, because you have more time to actually think about it, to evaluate what question is not being answered by just like the general content right now. And just like stuff like that. So I actually, it's not perfect. Like, there's often times where I'm just like basically drooling, like looking at my phone, because you just like look at all the, there's just so much like to look at. It's actually ridiculous. But and so to be able to work towards really a big cutoff, I think, in the long term is going to benefit pretty much all aspects of life.
Yeah, coming from a programming world, oftentimes getting stuck on a very difficult programming logic or something that was really tough. It was walk away, go for a walk, take a shower, and then it was usually around like a day later when just the answer comes to you. It's just random. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, oh shit, why didn't I do this? And then let's go sit down on the desk and program away and do that, and it works. So it's weird how the human brain is on that. Like I guess in a perfect world, you'd come up with the right answer every time, but that's not how humans work. You need some hours for that brain to whatever churning is happening in there.
I come up with the answer first. No, I'm kidding.
I've actually found it's called the Pomodoro effect. I think it's like pomodoro.com, but it's very simple. It's just like a 15-minute timer. And the concept is you just, you work on these tasks like completely undistracted for short periods of time so that you can just pump out like really high quality work in those time periods instead of working half-assed for an hour and a half where you're like, you might text real quick and then you go back to this and it takes you a minute and a half just to get fully refocused back on that subject. So to be able to break your time into very short, again, like 10, 15-minute chunks of time where you are just 100% focused. I've seen that actually go a long way for myself as well, especially if I'm writing out, because I try to write out, 5 to 10 videos at a time. So I kind of write out like a broad script for myself. And, the times that I'm just like half-assed back between my cell phone or if my dog's distracting me or whatever it can be, there's certainly a big difference versus when I'm really, obviously honed in. And I'm sure you might seem similar if you're editing videos or something, like you rewatch it and you're like, how did I originally let this pass, versus if you're like fully committed to it.
Oh yeah, totally. What's the biggest problem for humans? What should they do to fix it?
Funny, I would say probably the phones, like probably, it's like a double-edged sword. Because, I think the phones and the technology right in front of us has done so much for us. But, it also from a social and like emotional standpoint, I think has changed a lot of things. Like there's actually studies about, Gen Z and younger and, just even like their dating lives and just like their social communications and things like that are so different because they had grown up on iPads or like with social media. Like I guess Instagram started when I was in high school, or I think maybe that's like when like people around my age started getting it. And so, that's a big difference for somebody who is getting an Instagram in elementary school or something like that, So I think, the biggest problem, ironic maybe to say as an influencer, but I think it certainly could be social media.
I could see an analogy there. You could say like automobiles are awesome, but automobile accidents are a terrible thing if you look at the big picture, right? How many people are dying or getting injured in automobile accidents, and you go, well, that's terrible. So, well, then are automobiles awesome enough to be worth that trade-off? I think so. I mean,
right.
But if we all went back to horse and carriage, would there be less deaths traveling? Probably. But are we're willing to accept that cost, right? So at some point,
I think what I'm thinking about is like a car. You get somewhere. You're actually accomplishing something, getting from A to B.
Yeah.
Where a phone, I don't think we're really accomplishing any. At least if someone's staring at Instagram and just looking at the photos of dogs, puppies, dogs, I don't.
They're getting joy with their dogs.
I guess the whatever in. Is it endorphins that's flooding their?
I mean, I definitely do realtor advertising very subtly. I'm able to kind of keep better in touch with Chicago relatives that I wouldn't be calling them and texting them, but Facebook makes it very easy to kind of stay in touch with them casually. I think there are benefits. Email is great, right? Would you say email is not a productive tool? But I get emails on my phone constantly. Right. We're able to take a lot more pictures than we used to. I mean, I grew up in a time when you took a picture with this machine and you took the film out and you developed this place and you paid them to print them out. Like, is it so cool to be able to have pictures instantly, in our pockets? So I think there's a lot of plus.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
For sure. I think the level of entry for those types of things, like with the comment about the car, the level of entry to get to a point where it's actually like a performance car or it's like this really flashy car that gives like your brain these reactions, that is not like a low level of entry. That is like an actual monetary level that requires to get there. Whereas like being on your phone, that's a very low level of entry. Almost everyone by the time that they're 13 or 14 has a cell phone. And whether it's behind your parents' back or whatever, like most people have some level of social media. And then in regards to taking pictures too, like, so I'm 26 and I think, kind of in my like millennial age range, we saw a lot more increase in people having, eating disorders or just different kind of self-esteem issues because it's a constant comparison. And, Instagram is kind of that like 2% golden reel of somebody's life. It's not the reality. It's the best pictures of their reality.
Yeah.
And so, although I mean, obviously I'm all for phones and I think it's great, but just like anything, really, people do abuse that. And I think the younger that you're introduced to those things, the less that you're able to establish what is real and what is like that you think you're lacking because everyone else has a flashy car, when in reality they're leasing that car and have like $20,000 in debt, but you don't see that on social media. So that kind of like double-edged sword in that regard.
Would you suggest, just for the heck of it, if someone was watching this and you made one suggestion about this smartphone thing, and for everyone to cut out usage at 6 or 7, or do you think 9 is a more realistic, or pick a number?
Yeah, I think it's going to vary for every person. So I think 7 is a great goal, but if you zone out for another hour on your phone, as long as it's a conscious decision when you're cutting that off, even if for you, for instance, if I go to bed at 10, my number might be 7 or 8. But if you go to bed at 2 in the morning, then maybe your number is 11. As long as you have some period of time where you're consciously not on your phone, I think that goes a long way, just to kind of, detach and to have real life connections with people outside of, social media and stuff. I think is huge to kind of get that disconnect.
Yeah, actually, a big thing that I do is I try to be very cognizant of, as I'm using this phone, am I losing any potential on any real life conversation, contact, or whatever it is? If there's a friend and we've been talking a whole lot, then I think it's different for me to jump on my phone. Sure. But I even say for my wife, I'm cognizant if I'm video editing or using the phone so much, I try to cut away some time so that she gets some time with me. And then when it's a house party setting, I try to think about, is there some, house parties are probably not a good example, but if I'm visiting a friend and there's new friends there, friends of a friend's, am I looking at my phone too much and not making a connection with somebody?
Yeah, that's actually the first time that I realized I was really comfortable around my in-laws, is because I found myself sitting on their couch scrolling my phone when they were around, instead of being presentable, and I put the phone down. I was like, no, I'm going to be a person and be aware. But sometimes it is obviously a comfort. If you go into an elevator with a stranger, more times than not, you're going to pull out your phone just because you feel awkward, and just kind of as a comfort. Or if you're waiting to pick up carry out, more times than not, someone's on their phone. They're not just looking around. And so, but I think, in terms of that, being socially aware of your surroundings and not being an ass because you'd rather look at your phone than talk to people around you, I think is really a skill at this point, because it is more comfortable more times than not than to just dive into your phone and not push through, conversation.
Yeah.
I have seen that phenomenon where people do look into their phone as this nervous thing where they don't want to engage, or they don't want to interact with people around them. So that is weird to me to see it, because it's so visible from the outside. You're obviously staring intently to avoid whatever you're uncomfortable with. And I want to help people with that. I don't know how.
Yeah. I think I'm an extrovert. When growing up through high school and junior high and all that, elementary, I was probably the loudest kid out there. When I hear about different stories, even when you mentioned you felt like you came out of your shell more around, I think 27 years old, where you're more outgoing.
It's a continuing process for me.
Yeah. So I think the phone thing, connecting all that, it's interesting this allows that introvert or social awkwardness to continue, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess before cell phones, maybe it was a house party and someone has their beer and they're just going to drink their beer and not talk to people. They'll hide in the corner. So it's the same,
Right.
but different. So I guess humans will find a way to be
The path of least resistance.
Yes. There you go.
Right.
All right. Next question. What's your favorite food?
Ooh. Ramen, I would say. I have been Japanese ramen. I have been so into it. We have this place up the street from us in North Park, and I've been trying not to go every day, pretty much.
Carbs.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's just so good. So yeah, pretty much anything with pasta or noodles of any kind is high on my list. But ramen, certainly the last couple of months, has been the number one.
What's it about either that ramen dish or what it is about ramen to you? Does it Is it just the right mix of saltiness? Is it, do you have a memory from a relationship about ramen, or
why are you?
Oh
so
yeah, I just like the whole mix, you know, like you have like the big ramen spoon, you can get like the broth plus some veggies and then like the hot noodles, and really there's like nothing that I don't like about it. But but this dish specifically just has like a really nice like well-rounded garlic depth, like because garlic is hard to do strong without making it like a raw garlic flavor, because like you know, raw garlic tastes so different than like a roasted garlic. But you can tell that this was took a long time to make. You know, so that's one thing I think, maybe coming from culinary school and being a chef, when it comes to like soups and sauces, I feel like as if I can kind of tell if they rushed the process or if this was like a slow and steady. And this, you can definitely tell, was probably like a 2-day process, everything from like roasting the vegetables to making the broth, and then transitioning the broth actually into like more of a soup base. So I have nothing bad to say about this ramen, clearly. Like, I think maybe I'll have it for dinner now, but
Awesome.
That's the best endorsement of ramen I've ever heard in my life.
right.
Think of at least 2 friends that should do this conversation. Call them out.
Ooh, so actually I do have so a crypto dev on TikTok. He is a developer. He's currently working on I think the Matic like blockchain. He's like been building on Matic. So absolutely, I think he would be a great person to have on here. And then Priceless Tay would be another one. She's does like finance and influence finance stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to have a dev come on here and talk.
Yeah.
I am fearful that they're gonna make me feel really stupid, but I think I welcome that because I want to learn. I want to I want to know what I'm missing too. What am I saying wrong? Because I'll tell Emmett something about hash rates, and it has to do with the leading zeros, and to make it harder, you add more zeros. That's when you confirm a transaction to make it harder. And when I say that, am I actually right? So it'd be interesting to get a dev on here. He's going to be like,
just tear you apart.
Yeah, you're a fucking idiot, Liem. Why did you even think this shit? You're a programmer too.
Right. No, yeah, I think he would be a great resource. I was actually thinking that as you mentioned that before, I was like, I'll email you after this and give you his contact and stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I reached out on Discord. It was, I think, a programmer on the Lighthouse staking, Ethereum 2.0 staking. He's, I think, one of the programmers, I think. And I think as podcasts are, some of these people aren't very talkative, or they don't want to be on a video. Sure. So I have a feeling, I think that's why he was hesitant to come onto this podcast. So we'll see. Hopefully I could get somebody on.
Definitely.
All right. Now plug yourself. How do people get in touch with you, or what's the best? What should they
want to see more Taylor?
Yeah, if they want to see more Taylor.
Yes. So my main platform is TikTok, which is taylormitchell.official. And then I'm also trying to work on actually building my other platforms. So I also have a YouTube channel, which is also just Taylor Mitchell. And then my Instagram as well is the same tag of taylormitchell.official. So those are kind of all my platforms. Instagram lately has been more of my like daily driver, just because it's easier to post like quick, like 2-second stories, or even just like a photo story.
Yeah.
Or sharing articles, or, you know, things like that. But yeah, absolutely.
Do you find Discord, or which platform do you find kind of the most engaging for your users? TikTok, Discord?
Yeah, I would say probably, I mean, Discord is the easiest for like actual back and forth conversation, because I'm not limited to like, 300 characters or whatever it may be. And I can also occasionally like plug in a video to send to them to like refer back and forth. Sometimes if somebody asks me a question, like I'll get like a paragraph in, I'm like, I think this would be so much easier as a video. So then I'll just pull up my phone, even if I'm rambling for like a minute and a half. I think that goes a long way, to be able to get my message across. So yeah, I think Discord is another great platform for more like conversation.
For me, as a growing video podcast platform, would you suggest that I get into Discord, or is that much later in my phase, or what would your suggestions be?
Yeah, I think, it would depend on if you wanted to build a community who, maybe you had a section on your Discord that was talking about like tech, and somebody, every time they started their own podcast, they were having issues, or, maybe If you had like the guests that you've had on the Discord, you joined them as members on the Discord, and then, you know, your viewers could like have conversation back and forth with those things, with those people. So I certainly think that there's aspects that you could hone into a Discord, specifically, like I was saying, like the different tech opportunities to help, because clearly you're very like savvy with what you're doing in terms of like flagging the video, and like you guys clearly have like a nice setup. So I think to be able to be like a communicative resource with people in terms of that regard could actually be pretty cool.
Awesome.
Be the source.
Taylor, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for spending 3 hours with us. Let's do the scan whenever you're free.
Great conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers.
Pleasure.
Cheers.